everybody. Oh, wait a second. To the Demon Erasers podcast,
Hey,
special edition with Seth.
Seth Lamb.
Seth Lamb
I don't
here.
like being called that.
You don't like being called that?
No, it's just my handle. I actually it makes me uncomfortable to hear. So yeah,
Really?
Seth is fine.
Seth
It's
is
not a
fine.
sexy name either. It's like it's like Keith.
Oh, okay. Well, I gotta make sure we're live. Okay, we're live.
We are.
Yeah, we're live.
Hello,
And so people
people
can
of the
see us.
present.
And so why does it? Oh no, it just looks a little fuzzy. But
Do you like my home, Brian? Are you happy with your stay so far? I've been an accommodating host.
Yeah, you're legit. You're great, bro.
Don't just
Thanks
say that
for-
because I'm asking you and trying to force you into a wall
you're,
here.
You're definitely forcing me. No, I'm just kidding. No,
hey,
that's great. I'm in Florida right now with Seth, and your shoes aren't even on, bro.
Well, I like having my toes out.
That's because we're in
hot
Florida.
In here. When I start ranting, I get a little sweaty in my pits and my
Got
feet.
it.
So I got to make sure I'm like free and roaming. I'm in my own home, so don't actually tell me what to do.
Yeah, that's right. That's all right. Yeah, so we actually went to Nephilim Death Squad yesterday.
Shout out Bohemian Grove.
That was a pretty fun event. Kind of hanging out with a bunch of different people.
Very historic, very cool people there.
Yeah, it was a lot of a different group of people. There was like Top Lobster and Raven and Owen Benjamin and
Dr. Heather Lynn was there.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
else we got?
Dude,
Biblical
JT
Hitman
was there,
Steven.
Biblical Hitman. It was
Skibba News Nation. We got we want to name drop everybody, but we're selfish.
Dude,
probably won't handle all that.
It's all right. It's all right. And then yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Doc Brown, yeah. And so yeah, dude, there was so many cool people, got to share, hang out, and talk fun. And so now, before I head back, I know I missed a podcast yesterday, but it's okay. We're gonna do a podcast today in Seth Lamb house.
That's right. We're gonna be double schizo to make up for your lack of content in the past days. So don't you worry.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't go too long, but it might end up going extremely long.
Extremely long time.
Yeah, it probably will.
It'll be hardcore.
Yeah, exactly. Because today we're going to be talking about a lot of topics of craziness, but specifically reincarnation.
Rio what nation?
Yep, Reincarnation.
Never heard of that.
Which, yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting because Seth's got a lot of experience or understanding from reading all the occult books. For those that don't know, Seth, he studied and was involved in astral projection stuff, and which is not good. Yes, not good. And read every, like a crazy person, read every single like occult book that there is. And
I read all sorts of things, man,
bro. And then he insists on wanting to share all the occult book stuff with everybody. All the flaws. He put it all together and figured out that basically there's a bunch of flaws and this is what it is, and it led him to Jesus, which is pretty awesome.
The hierarchy of books behind me, which is just to make me look intelligent. I haven't read all of them, but it's like the most evil stuff at the bottom and the most wholesome pro Jesus stuff at the top. It's like actually structured that way.
Oh, it's good.
Not like alphabetical, but like evil to not evil. So
okay.
But it's a lot of evil stuff.
We want to keep the evil stuff at the bottom anyways.
You got to learn your enemy if you want to destroy them. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And so we're going to share some crazy stuff. I'm going to share a little bit of my perspective of stuff in regards to the reincarnation and dealing with this kind of thing in the sort of deliverance space and the dealing with demons. And he'll be sharing it from his perspective with sort of the new age and informational space in that regard. So it should be an interesting podcast.
It'll be freaky. Yeah.
Before you get ramping, because you're gonna I'm mostly gonna let him go and then like interject.
Yeah, go to point 8 speed if you don't got like crazy capabilities. Cognitively.
Yeah, we're gonna talk.
So I get crazy.
Yeah, he's gonna talk pretty fast. But the what I will tell you is that one topic of reincarnation that I want to discuss in this sort of spiritual space is that reincarnation's original sort of perversion is actually from resurrection, and we won't get into all the details of that. But resurrection, I think, is one of the root concepts that even perpetuated this idea of reincarnation, which totally gets into like little season stuff. We're not going to go into it, but we disagree on these topics. So
but we're having a great
time. We won't argue yet, but we might soon. I don't know.
Don't worry, we'll get there.
We argue in person all the time, so it's good. That's how we sharpen our iron, but we'll get there. We'll get there with our arguing. Yeah, so reincarnation, though, I think there's an aspect of it that may be tied to resurrection, but the common understanding of reincarnation that you see in the world today is false, and it is completely satanic, and it's completely demonic, and there's so much tethered to it. And with that being said, I don't know where you want to go, but you can go ahead and
So many
start
places.
rambling.
Yeah, I mean, the evidence for reincarnation is on the surface very convincing. You know, Ian Stevenson's research, which I usually touch on initially in the
Mhm.
beginning, is the most convincing. And I
And who
read
is Ian Stevens?
he is the like most heralded top researcher in reincarnation. He didn't do regression,
Mhm.
which is even more. We'll get into more of that later and touch on those topics. But you know, that's not as verifiable and as good of evidence. The best evidence for reincarnation, according to everybody involved in the knowledge sphere of that, is his 2,500 or so cases that he studied himself, where a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them, he went to these, you know,
Is this the
countries.
kid? He studies the
It's
kids
all
that found it.
children.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
the,
a little
yeah.
freaky to study children your whole
Oh
life,
yeah,
but I
that's
know
pretty
he
weird.
wasn't probably he wasn't on that level, I
Yeah,
imagine. But it
sure
is a
he
little
wasn't.
weird. A little
Sure he
weird.
wasn't.
You know, but you are guided by demons a little bit if you're trying to fulfill this mission of proving reincarnation, which is garbage. But it is seemingly very convincing, and the most convincing aspect is the birthmarks, which you know people will die in past life. Apparently, they'll get a past life memory of dying, and they'll find out, like, let's say they in their current life they have maybe a birthmark.
You're jumping ahead.
I'm
First,
jumping ahead. You're
hold on.
right. I
Don't
need
go
to
to the birthmark
preface
thing yet,
prefacing.
bro. Birthmark is a whole nother next
That's
level.
right. That's
So
right.
you got to start with the first. There is people that are born and they have memories. Okay, and there's children that this dude studied. And there's like that famous one with the little boy that lands with the planes that he remembers landing on the beach. And there's a video on it online that
Yeah.
anybody can look up. And this little kid, they end up taking this little kid, find the house that he claimed of this life that he used to live, and the kid's like tripped out. Apparently he's like kind of like ADD all over the place, but when they take him to this place, he's kind of like, what the heck is happening? And he's like totally like remembers everything. He remembers the people's names. He remembers their brother, the family, and everything. He remembers all this stuff. And this is the kid that's like, I don't know, what is he, like 8 or something in that
A lot of
video?
them are. Most of
So,
Ian Stevenson's are from 2 to 6. Most of them 2 to 4. Like in
oh,
that, like
okay,
right
really?
around talking age,
Yeah.
and forming like you know structured kind
Yep.
of sentences and all that
And
stuff.
these are children that legitimately have memories. We don't know where the
They're not
memories
making
come
it up.
from.
They're not making it
Yeah,
up.
they legitimately have these memories of another person's life, and it's been provable. Like it's like verifiable. And in fact, I actually a crazy story. My sister's kid one time told my grandpa this. This is really random, but told my grandpa he set his cane on the edge of the table, and I think he was like 4 or something when he did, or maybe
Ripe
he was like 5.
age.
And he tells my grandpa, he goes, grandpa, I used to put my cane on the edge of the table and it would fall off. Bro, like think of this, like a 4-year-old. He said it would
Creepy.
fall off on the ground and it would always be really hard to pick it up. And my grandpa's like, what the heck? Like, how would a child at that age know that it would be hard to pick up your cane when it would fall off the table?
Because he's an old man who had arthritis. He's saying
That exactly, which is very
BS.
fascinating. So, like, there's a lot of children that have these kind of experiences.
Oh, it's a lot.
And it's very common. So, anyways,
Well,
that now keep going.
now there's I guess thing I had to do with connecting to my part 1 and 2 material, because it builds the foundation and like bedrock of these concepts, which, you know, if you haven't watched my part 1, it's I recommend, honestly, you can watch this if you want, but you won't totally take my word for everything if you haven't seen some of the earlier material, because we did a
Just
part 1.
believe him. He's an expert. We'll just believe him.
I don't look like an expert in anything.
I know he's
you know,
barefooted and
you're not wearing any shoes or socks.
Yeah, but
either.
I'm not showing my feet, bro. That's the difference.
Yeah, and I don't live a lie. I keep it real with my audience. You know?
Okay,
I think
all right.
it's hiding yourself.
Hey,
man.
whatever. But I believe him. He's a pretty good expert at studying this.
But
stuff.
I wouldn't believe you if I was the audience. So you know,
I mean,
that's
up to the people.
That's
up to the
fair.
people.
That's fair. That's
That's
fair.
up to the people. That's nothing to do with us.
I guess I need to real quick plug myself, because people need to know all the evidence for these things. Like, we'll touch on the topics and I'll kind of rant about it. Usually I'm more structured in my presentations.
I'm making him
he's
be
forcing
more
me out of my comfort zone.
I'm making
here.
him be more chill and more like podcastable.
Well, you know, and I have to, you know, work my way through with
He
charm,
wants to
but
give
it's
you
embarrassing
he wants to give you
sometimes.
a lecture, and I'm like, bro, that's boring. Just tell us we trust you.
Ah,
Everybody say in the comments that you trust him, so he understands.
I really need the validation
that he's
guys.
trustable. Yeah, right in the comments. Let's see. I'm looking.
No,
for
it's actually kind of sad and desperate. I don't want to do that. No, but I do need to get into the earlier topics, because this is important. We're skipping part 2, which we already did, and it's been recorded and it's not been released and edited for controversial reasons we're not going to get into right now.
Yeah,
but part 2 is you know, focuses on holistic healing and the bedrock of how, when you cross-examine methods, there's these deceptive, very deceptive, strategic fake healings happening on behalf of demonic trickery and theatrics, and there's some real stuff involved, and it's very confusing. That's for another time. But if you want to see that material, just go to my Seth Lahema _ YouTube channel, and I have part 1, part 2, part 3 material out with more presentation details.
See,
Yeah, actually, let me see it.
They trust you. See,
paid actors, so, crisis actors is what they are. Because I'm in a crisis.
Hey,
right now.
you know, it's all right. They trust you.
So I gotta plug my.
That's
Okay,
good.
all right, I'll take it. I gotta plug myself. Spirit realm shenanigans and unhinged rant exposing the psychic fabrications of discarnate dweebs and Nephilim nitwits. That is where a very huge buttload of material and evidence and cross examinations are, where it's much more detailed and evidence based. But I'm just gonna rant about it today and go out of my comfort zone because he's forcing me to, and that's chill.
Yep.
And the audiobook is free. You don't need to give me money. Go on YouTube or Spotify, and I got funny voices for all the people I'm mocking in it, which is an inappropriate amount. Possibly
Did you do
slanderous.
the funny voices?
No, I did. I used a demonic AI to harvest a bunch of different voices, and I like edited them. I made like a Master Shake voice from Aqua Teen Hunger Force and gave that to.
Oh,
I
Master
think Dan
Shake.
Duval. I think I gave him Master Shake.
Is that Master Shake's like me, bro?
That's Meatwad, but that's
like
great.
me,
That's
bro.
amazing.
That's how he down like boss.
Bro, why are you not a voice actor in your show? Actually, you do some commercials.
I used to do commercials.
That's private information. He doesn't like me
that's all
telling his private information.
I did used to do a lot of commercials. So, I have the voice of hello and thank you for calling a lot of different companies.
We're here for legitimate reasons, and this is he's just a real goofball. We need to get him on track.
All
So
right.
I'm gonna try to stay coherent here. But we need the part 1, part 2 material bedrock just a little bit. And which part 1, if you haven't watched, which I recommend, is my main thing, which is proving that the astral realm, specifically, like not only astral realm, but remote viewing visions, regression visions of past life memories, pre-Adamic memories, future life memories, SSP, all these.
They don't
crazy
even know
things.
that.
I'm setting the foundation.
Okay,
Okay, calm down. And people need to know that I believe that, especially the astral, which is the most immersive form of this vision experience, spiritual encounter, it is all a simulation structured by consciousness of demonic entities. Basically,
it's a demon AI.
But what is the purpose? It's theatrics, just to put you through an experience which is more convincing than just telling you via channeling, which they also do that as well to tell you information. But they have you experience a simulation, which you think you're going to real realms, but really it's basically an AI virtual reality video game, putting you in so that you learn things that are not true, anti-biblical, all sorts of different ideas they give to people which don't agree with each other, but thematically overall aligned, but they're telling people what they are most likely to accept. So if a Christian goes out of body, he'll get a different story than the other guys.
Okay, but wait.
I'm making the point that it's
all... Keep going. Get to
it's
the
important.
Cool part. Get to the cool part.
It's all simulation.
Demonic
you're not
simulation.
going anywhere. It's coming to you. It's in your head.
It's
you're
fake
not
demonic
leaving your
simulation.
Body. Yeah, and that matters because in part 2 material, which I'll quickly say, in these healings that people are doing, and these regressed, trance states, people don't use that word, but you're in a theta brainwave state either way, and you're contacting entities, you're channeling, you are getting visions in your head that is showing you crazy things in the spirit realm apparently happening, but really it's
why are you saying all this? What's
this
the
is
point
important because it builds into the false memory implantation. I'm saying if you
you're trying to say
it needs
that
to start
false implantation memories are real. That's what you're trying to say.
Yes, but the key thing here that people didn't understand, the astral realm is a real time in generated thing in real time. Okay. These are so controlled. Your lucidity, your perception, your thoughts, telepathic communication is implanting thoughts, by the way, and reading your mind. All of this is happening at once, and they have microscopic control and detail of all of these layers of your experience in these astral experiences. So if that's happening in a live simulation, implanting a totally packaged, non-autonomous memory is much easier. Okay, I'm saying is that so, and I can prove to people really quickly that they can do the simulations in real time. So if that's as controlled as I claim, which I already did, but if that's as controlled as I claim, then these non-autonomous packaged memory downloads, which is just as a download with a visual experience that you're reliving with all the emotion, and it feels real, feels like your own. You're getting a gnosis, a knowing alongside of it, a download. It is a download, and
which again, the word demons, just so you guys know, Daemon, it means the ones that know. And knowing it is a connection.
Yeah, they're a hive mind, and that's important to know. I talk about that in other stuff. Don't worry about it. But they are a hive mind. That's they have this information access, and the hive mind concept is actually integral to this because we'll get into why with the birthmark saying. But the hive mind concept is important because, and I talked about it earlier more. I won't get into too much detail, but essentially, the demonic realm, the fallen, all of these dweeb entities, as I branded them, are part of this hive mind, which they admit to in so many ways. And Mark 5:9 kind of tells us, with this demon saying, my name is Legion, for we are many, kind of telling you in the Bible, but it's alluded to in the New Age lore very, very frequently, which I cover earlier. So don't worry about it. And the hive mind thing is important because think of the implications of a demonic hive mind and what that has to do with prophetic information they're giving you. People get these prophetic dreams of the future, usually not distant future, sometimes. And then there is mediums. You go to a medium and they'll tell you your future like, hey, you're going to get a job promotion soon. You believe it, which is one layer of your belief acting, and your belief in that is acting as consent for demons to now infiltrate things in people's lives to certain degrees and implant thoughts. But it's also, if you go to a medium and they tell you you're about to get a promotion, but the demon hive mind is observing your boss or your workplace to see that they're about to hire you anyway for this, or to give you this promotion anyway because someone else is going out, something of that nature. They just have knowledge by watching everything, putting it in their data, etheric AI hive mind analysis, and they're essentially able to prophesy things by giving you things that seem prophetic, but really just they just know what's going on, and they give it to a medium, and then you believe it. Harvest consent, additional ramifications for their allowances and consents they can infiltrate. So that's important because that leads into the birthmark thing very heavily.
Okay. Okay. So one thing somebody puts, I broke my back 15 years ago, and the doctor gave me tons of drugs. The first time I took them,
nice.
I traveled out of my body. I was hovering behind and above myself. Do you think that's demonic?
I think the entire thing is simulation, and doing drugs like that is technically consent form to a degree. And now you go, oh, but I went to my body. I saw my body. No, that's part of the, like I said, the highly controlled simulation, which watch my earlier material if you didn't, they admit to this ability. These guys, these higher selves admit to this ability.
Well, you're taking a drug, and so the drug is already a consent, and it's already putting you into that space.
Into a, theta brainwave state, which is required for these experiences.
Yeah.
And they do it as a gateway drug to get you interested in it. Then you want to do it more in occult practice. And you're like, this is cool and exciting. And it's meant to gateway drug you mostly and harvest consents, etc.
What's your book called? Somebody wanted to say it again.
Spirit Realm Shenanigans and Unhinged Rant, exposing the psychic fabrications of discarnate dweebs and Nephilim nitwits. I just updated the hell out of it on Amazon, but the audiobook, which is less updated, is free on Spotify and YouTube on my channel. So
he has a lot of cursing in it, guys. Just a side
note. I'm not fully the most wholesome man on the planet. My heart is pure, but my mouth is dirty. And God's working on me, guys. So give me some space.
Yeah. So the okay. So basically, guys, we're gonna bring it back to reincarnation. We're bringing it back to reincarnation.
Needed to do that.
Okay. This is the longest thing of that.
No, it's really.
But what's okay? Okay. All right. So what's important is that like basically there is these experiences that people are having that are reincarnation. There's stories that are reincarnation, and when it comes down to samsara, which is in Hinduism, where the basis of this reincarnation is written about, which is the cycle of death and rebirth, which is not death and rebirth for people. It's death and rebirth for demons. Okay, guys?
That's right.
Demons are inhabiting bodies and rebirthing themselves. And this is something very fascinating when it comes down to we'll talk about, well, I won't go onto that rant. I'm going to let you rant a little bit more because there is something else that you mentioned.
This is my show.
Yeah. Whatever. This is something that you mentioned that is regarding to the birthmark things. Now, one of the key things about people that have had reincarnation experiences, they will oftentimes have birthmarks on
30% of the cases.
Yeah, they'll have birthmarks, and that birthmark will be like a connected thing to the previous life individual,
their death,
like how they died, or some significant thing happened to them, like they lost a leg, and then that kid will be born with like the leg have a huge birthmark on it or something.
They'll have like nub hands in this life where their fingers didn't grow, and they find out in their last life when they got killed, their fingers were cut off, which I don't know how that karmically balances anything to just make you suffer again the same way.
Yes,
but it's more just way of, but they just give you a memory of where, oh, that's happened. That explains your disformity. And then you believe it, and that gives them additional consents to implant thoughts in you and validate certain information.
And now for those of you that don't, that's his explanation through books and all of his reading and all of his stuff that he's talking about regards to how there's implanted thoughts. I can say it really simply, bro. It's demons, bro. It's real simple. And literally demons can interject memories into people, and they can erase memories. And this through hypnosis. All you guys got to do is look up a hypnotist will snap his fingers and the person's memory will be wiped. It's very real. It happens all the time. You can look these things up and see it, and the people are totally baffled by what has happened. You can look up the stuff about Sirhan, where he shot what's his name, and then literally like didn't remember, but he had like vague memory experience stuff related to it. And there's like this is like very prominent in hypnosis space. Okay, hypnosis is demonic in a lot of ways. It can be used for demonic control of a vessel. And literally the demons, I've witnessed them plant thoughts into people's heads. I know people that I know very well that ended up getting false memories put into their head, that they thought they did something, or that they thought that they had something happen to them. I know people that that have had memories wiped. And so that's one of the key things that demons have an ability of doing. In fact, they're demons, again, very weak. They can do very little things. One of the things that they are very capable of doing is reading thoughts, talking your mind, sharing memories with you, or erasing your memories. This is the realm in which demons have capabilities. They're not good at like touching things. They can very mentally knock things off a shelf very weakly. If they can at all. They can give you sickness. They can give you diseases.
They can hurt your feelings
They
if
can,
you let them.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you're a ween like that,
yeah, sure. But I mean, like they're very much weak when it comes to what they're capable of. Hey, we're really jittery.
Jittery.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
We don't
Is your
sound.
internet? They're saying the
He's
internet's
playing.
kind of.
I think AJ's playing video games right now.
Is that what's going on?
It
Okay.
typically it's a real problem here, guys.
Is it a real problem? Okay. Well, hopefully
If I
it's
tell him to
not.
get off the video games, he'll be pissed.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully, is he stay on the video games this whole time, or does he leave at a certain
Like
point?
most of his life.
Does he leave to play some other games
I
or
thought
something?
he
You
was gonna
said.
play Dungeons and Dragons, but I guess he's here.
Oh dang, we're like so laggy
Is it
right
bad?
now.
I can ask him.
It's like total frozen glitch.
No way.
Yeah, bro, total
I
glitch
can ask
frozen.
him.
The
Well, you
but
paused it. You
oh
just
no, that
paused
was
it there.
pause it.
So
That
that
was
was.
pause it. Never mind. Okay, well, anyways, whatever.
Is it if
All right.
it's a real problem? I can talk to him.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. We should be okay.
I can boss him. I'm like the papa around here. He's my like son.
Not a big problem, they said. Okay, cool. All right.
All right.
All
I don't
right.
want to
So,
freak
anyways,
out.
so the demonic stuff that's happening, like basically demons can plant thoughts. I've witnessed it. These are things that, like, sure, like I can tell you this. If you look into this stuff, I talk to anybody that casts out demons. They deal with it. False memories and memory plants are the very common thing.
It's
And in
admitted
fact,
in the lore.
yeah,
I'll
and
get into
with
that.
all your stuff. And in fact, the interesting part is that like there's people like individuals that are like, I've been SRA'd, and that SRA stuff, bro. Some of that, a lot of it is not real. A
A
lot of it
portion,
is
not all of it.
not all of it. Yes, and I'm very clear about that because trust me, I've dealt with people that have done some stuff, and bro, let me tell you what, they don't talk after they do it. Like it is not a condition you come out of very easily when you've actually been through some of this stuff. It's messes you up bad.
And a lot of these memories are recovered via the practice, the divination practice of hypnotic regression.
Yeah.
It might use different terminology, but you're going into a trance state. You're searching for these memories, consenting to a ritual act. And you may not be aware that's the legality happening, but you're consenting to getting false memories implanted. And I'm not saying you can't access real memories through this situation, but it is all, in my opinion, based on my research, which I can make good case for, is all demonically facilitated. So if you're getting a real memory, it's because a demon's giving it to you, and it usually has a narrative type purpose for their agenda. And people can't understand the fact that why would they give me a traumatic memory for no reason? They do it all the time in past life memories. They do it all the time with SSP memories, Secret Space Program. They do it all the time with a lot of more elaborate ones, and I have endless, countless examples. They do it, one, to traumatize you because it is a mind control, trauma-based mind control method. Two, it gets you focused on your trauma, and it's very controversial to say, but I'm going to stay on brand. A lot of this SRA stuff is what opens you up to these demonic infiltrations, right? It's real. These tortures are true, but not all of them. And people will go into regression and then get relive memories of these very, very fantastical things and getting killed over and over and put into a clone body, then killed again in this very aggressive, like almost comical way. And I'm not saying, and these things are traumatic to relive as a false memory.
Yeah,
They can,
they're
and they can
dying.
mess you up.
They're dying.
No,
so
and it feels very
feels-
impactful. And I
yeah.
feel sorry for these people, but if they understood that they could just stop searching for the memories via divination and avoid more trauma that they're giving themselves. And people, I'm not saying this applies to most because a lot of these people are genuine victims to real problems, but for some people, it can be a poison where they get kind of addicted to this like victim mentality and they make it their idol to search for these answers. But it's like a never ending thing. We just need to I think, going to Christ and all this very wholesome Christian information is important because if you go to Christ and he will heal you, he will deliver you. But if you're focusing on the past and the traumas, like, because it requires lack of forgiveness for these people that have hurt you. And obviously you're like, why would I forgive these people? But if you want to be in tune with the Lord, you have to let go of hatred of anybody, including yourself. That's a big part of it. And you're good at talking about this. I'll let you share, but like I think that's like a very hard to get across subject for people who have been through all these things. And it sounds insulting, and I don't mean to be, but it's like, this is real deal. And I can verify a lot of my crazy opinions here.
Yeah, no, it's definitely there's a lot to, which was what we call deliverance essentially, but like what it's being involved to the basis of is forgiveness. Forgiveness is the hugest key component to all of it. Like forgiveness, recognizing pride, and beginning to love. Those are like the three main points that when you help people to get free of some of this stuff, it can set you free. But if you have resent in your head and you're holding on to negative emotions, the negative emotions can fester into realities that are not real. And it will, like the demonic spirit, like you can hate somebody, and that hate between you and that person creates disjointed space of negativity. And in that negativity, the demon can come in and create the negative space, can create the negative memory, can create all these false things that will affect your mind. But yeah, forgiveness is huge, and it's key in any kind of deliverance of setting people free from demonic oppression. That's number one. That's like number one thing you have to do if you want to experience freedom. But when it comes to, the false memory stuff of demons planning it, and it comes to reincarnation, what is interesting about reincarnation specifically is you mentioned the birthmark thing, right?
Yeah.
And so you give me your theory on what you think the birthmarks are, and I pretty much agree with it.
It's
I kind of the
unbelievably
same thing.
simple. I mean,
Yeah.
well, it's simple for most cases, and then there's a few I usually we don't have to touch on, but there's like very minor.
Mhm.
Well, actually, I have one example that I found, but there's probably more where it gets a little bit more complex and there's a deeper thing. But for the 99.9% of birthmark cases, the explanation is pretty simple in my opinion, and I'm glad I laid the foundation for the hive mind because that's important.
Mhm.
So keep that in mind here. All that needs to happen because we'll establish more evidence for the whole vision implantation of false memories and talk about how that's provable and like verified. But let's just say, assume as the audience, they can do this. Believe me for a second, they can implant these memories if you are spiritually open, which we'll get into the reasons why more. If you're spiritually open, you are, I guess I should say, for these kids, the most best evidence is in this Ian Stevenson work, which is these kids that are 2 to 6 years old. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but your brainwave states evolve and change and raise as you age as a baseline. So your baseline brainwave state when you're 0 to 2 years old is delta, which is like a super deep sleep state consciousness wise. When you are, and this is, I'm summarizing it and kind of generalizing, but it's about accurate. When you go to 2 to 6 years old, which is the prime time age for these implanted memories that aren't done via divination, but there are spiritual openings that have allowed it. 2 to 6 year olds are predominantly in the theta brainwave state in their waking consciousness. And if anybody doesn't know, the theta brainwave state is exactly how you access out of body experiences, astral projection, regression of any kind, accessing past life memories, or all the other sorts of types. It's how you channel entities. It's how you. It's a meditative, chill state. It doesn't require much to get into it, but it's not just getting to that brainwave state that opens you up. It's getting to that because you're dreaming every night in around those states.
But
But it's
children
it's
stay in that state is what you're getting at.
yes, they, for the
So
most part.
children are in that state
Th-
all the time, and
this
that's
is why
usually
children
where
see more, sightings
spiritual
of
stuff, yeah,
yeah, and then
ghosts,
it
demons, and I'll tell you right now, children are very easily possessed by entities, and
no one
it's
wants to talk
very
about it.
and it's a very scary subject, and it's taboo,
We
absolutely.
will be covering it.
But like children definitely get like possessed, and like I mean, like there's so many situations. I remember somebody came on
Sins of the
my
father.
call one time, and they brought their kid, and they were just like, "Hey, I need prayer, blah blah blah. Like, I have my child with me. I'm gonna is it okay if he's in the room, or can I send him out?" And like immediately I just felt in the spirit, like, actually, you need to keep that kid in the room right now. And immediately the child, I'm like, and she's like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "And we're probably gonna pray for your child too." And she's like, "Why would my child need prayer or anything?" And I was like, "Well, is he like a little bit unruly?" And immediately the kid was like, "Bah!" And like she's like, "What the heck is happening?" And like, bro, the kid started like manifesting. I was like, "I bind you in the name of Jesus." The kid was like, "Ugh," and he like couldn't move. And she's like, oh my gosh," like holding this kid, like panicking and freaking out. And she's just like, "What is even happening right now?" And like literally, we cast the demon, left the child really easily. Which, by the way, demons leave children super easily. It's not like a big. They'll be like out and gone, and they just obey very very fast. So it's not something to be afraid of. But that's why you have this trope of like children being creepy in like movies and stuff. You see it all the time. There's a reason for that because it does happen, and it's kind of freaks you out a little bit when you see a little kid that's like speaking with something demonic through their voice. Terrifying to some degree, but like this is very real. And the kids though, you can cast the demons out of children so fast and so easily, and boom,
And I think that's important to note, because I think a lot of the reason why they're open in the first place is not just the brainwave state thing, but it's more of the spiritual openings due to the lack of spiritual
family.
protection from the family, the
Yeah.
sins of the father, iniquity. And it's not, and they're too young to be developing these crazy deep sins that are opening themselves, but their parents' lack of protection over them,
Seems like it,
or
yeah.
occultism, especially if you're doing that, you're opening your
Mhm.
child up, and that's the whole generational thing, which is why people need to
Mhm.
renounce these things.
Dude,
Sadly, it's elaborate, I know, but
and there was another situation where I actually prayed for this little kid, and they were like, "Oh yeah, he's like struggling at school. He's doing all these things." And I'm like, "Okay, maybe we should pray for your kid." He's like, "Oh, you think there's like something demonic to it?" I'm like, "I don't really know, but like we can try and we pray and see what happens." And then I talked to the kid and like say, "Can you say I rebuke this spirit in the name of Jesus or whatever? I rebuke all demonic spirits in the name of Jesus." And the kid goes, "I'm not saying that." Like, bro, and like the mom was like, "What? No, say it." And he's like, "No."
Maybe she's got an attitude problem.
Immediately changes. And then I'm like, "So," she's like, "Wait, do you actually think there's like something demonic attached to my child?" I was like, "I don't really know, but sounds like it might be to me."
A lot of kids are just dickheads, though.
Yeah, true. And then the little kids, the mom's like, why would you think that? Like, why wouldn't I know that or something? And I was like, and then the kid literally comes up to him with a toy snake and goes, "'Cause I'm sneaky like a snake." And then like
You do the
the
gay voice,
mom,
like I'm a sneaky
bro,
snake. And
yeah,
that?
no,
That would have been funny.
But then the mom was just like, "Oh my gosh." I forget all the details of the story. I'm like not in the space to remember everything. But like, anyways, basically the mom just like freaks out, was like, "Oh my gosh, this is what is happening right now." And so we end up praying for the kid and get the demon off the kid. The kid ends up like at the end of it, I was like, "Hey, you want to get some scissors? We're gonna cut that toy snake up." And he was like, "No." And then he was like, and I was like, whatever demonic thing is attached to that snake, we're cutting it off. And it's gonna let the demons go, and your bad dreams are gonna go away. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I don't want the bad dreams to go away." And so like immediately he was like, "Yeah, I'm cutting the snake up." Cuts the snake up. The next day they did a test on the kid because he was like failed his testing. The teachers were so shocked at how drastic the kid's behavior changed. He got like a perfect score on the test too, apparently, then compared to what he was. And like they were so shocked, they asked the mom like what kind of drugs they put the kid on, and the mom was just like, "It was not." They were like, "We didn't put him on drugs." She's like,
"The blood of Christ is inside his veins now."
Yeah, exactly. The mom didn't even know how to respond. Like, "Yeah, we cast demons out of my child, and now he's like a good." And the kid apparently for like, I've talked to him months later, and the child was like totally better, like better. His school behaved. All the teachers were shocked. She ended up telling one of the teachers that we cast demons out of the child, and the teacher was just like, "That is epic." Like the teacher was
Think
like,
of,
"Oh
like,
my gosh."
vapid vein housewives getting together and discussing, "Have you tried this new treatment on your
Yeah,
kid?"
exactly.
It's like instead of talking about like Ritalin or ADHD meds, it's like
it's called demons.
they're like, actually they have no idea what it is, but they're like, "We should try this. This sounds like a new trend or something." Like,
Oh my gosh.
we should normalize it. Okay?
We're not
not that much.
normalizing.
We're talking because it should be more of a rare.
Yeah, it should be rare. It should be rare. But hey, but really, like a lot of kids have unruly spirits, and these are demons affecting your children simultaneously. If your kids are getting weird visions or weird false memories, these are demons affecting your children. And yes, and your kids are listening. The thing is, like when you pray for a person, a lot of times, like there's thoughts that pop into your head. And there's like little emotional thoughts. Like if I'm praying for you, you might think this weird negative thought, like I'm gonna punch this guy in the face. Oh, I can't believe he said that to me, or something like that. Those are demons like whispering these thoughts. Now, you as a person go, well, you might get that urge to like punch somebody. You're like, oh, and then you like stop yourself. You're like, I'm not gonna do that. Why would I do that? Well, children don't have that filter very easily. So when you are praying, casting demons out through children, they'll respond like immediately.
Yeah.
And they won't, that filter won't come through. So if the demon is wanting to say something to the child, and the child's not, is an open vessel, like the kid's gonna say it out the mouth. Like, and trust me, it's creepy when the demons, because the kids will like have weird speech impediments, and then when the demon talks, it's gone. And it's like it's creepier.
He's
it's very
claimed
creepy.
to heal the retarded actually through this exact process of exorcism.
I want to say fully in the, if we're gonna say that, we're not gonna say these words.
I like to be a man of controversy for the sake of entertainment.
Okay, well, that's a whole other subject. But continue. Let's talk about, so like the children's stuff. The birthmark thing is super
That's
super
the best
interesting.
evidence there is, and I can explain it pretty easily.
Go for it.
So we talked about the
Birthmark.
theta brainwave state, which they're in very casually all the time. And just for reference, 6 to 12-year-olds are more in alpha brainwave state. 12 and above, it's like a mixture of alpha, beta mostly. So you're literally raising your consciousness, whatever terminology, as you age, and that's like a baseline for most people. Well, for everybody essentially, within certain details. So because of that, that is the actual dynamic like opening there, and then plus the spiritual openings, which has to do with consent laws and via what your parents are doing. And if they're occultists, for example, they're leaving their kid wide open for these things. Now, how do they get the birthmarks on you? Well, for 99.9%, we'll see if we'll cover the other bit, but for that, all it takes observation and analytical ability from the demonic hive mind realm. So if they're a hive mind, which I try to prove very, diligently in other work, but just assume that's what they have, which they tell you often. If they're a hive mind and you have people just naturally having birthmarks pop up, which is, by the way, just the result of pigment cells, melanocytes, I think they're called, might be phrasing that wrong, pigment cells that just cluster abnormally in the womb, which is a very non-invasive. It's not like a, problematic thing for your health at all. It's a very normal process. So people get birthmarks just randomly in the womb for whatever reason. And
melanoma.
I don't know, maybe. If you want
spots, I don't know.
You're just trying to sound smart. Shut up. So if you lock in. So if you basically, people have birthmarks all the time. Not everybody has them, but a lot of people do. All the demon hive mind has to do is find someone
that died
who has, find someone with a birthmark, a little kid, and you have years to do this. And here's the data is important, because when you study the 2,500 cases, the best analytical data on reincarnation, you see that the vast majority, 99% of cases, there's a 3-year gap max between your last life death and your current life. So usually it's 16 or 18 months, but usually 1 to 3 years gap. So, and also these people are, most of them, the vast majority are within 100 miles, usually 20 to 50, but up to 100 miles, sometimes across continents, but most of the time 100 miles away max, 3 years max distance from the last life. Okay. So that's important. That's like 99% of these cases. So all the demons would have to do then is find someone with a birthmark, find someone with a little hole looking thing on their chest, and then boom, find anybody who died of a stab or a gunshot wound around that area.
Yeah.
Within 100 miles, usually, or 3 years. Anybody. And you don't have to get everybody. You just have to do a couple here and there. And they've done a lot.
But all you do it throughout time too. I mean,
and then you find someone with a spiritual opening, go to any of these pagan countries or with occultists, which they're everywhere. I'm sorry, there's probably a billion of them, to some degree, and if all you have to do is find a child in the theta brainwave state, easy, they're everywhere. Find someone with a birthmark, anybody who died with a similar area of death wound, and then boom, implant that memory, which, by the way, only 30% of the reincarnation cases studied have a correlating birthmark. If there's no birthmark, which is the majority of them, 2/3, all you have to do is implant a false memory into a kid of a real person. And it could be, it doesn't have to be the exact memory transferred over. It can just be like similar enough to where they remember the details and you relay it. And then the kid starts talking about it. And then Ian Stevenson or somebody will show up, and then because it becomes a story in the town, usually actually small villages often in these places. And then a researcher comes out, usually to validate it, and the child will go meet their past life family, who's usually within 100 miles. And it's ideal to make it close by, because then they can more likely meet up with each other. It's the whole point of this.
Yeah, it creates it more validating.
Yeah, and then when the kid goes and meets the past life family, like let's say he was a husband and father, and now he's a 3-year-old boy, but he was a husband and father in his last life, he'll go meet his wife and be like, yeah, I remember I used to bang a good time, didn't we? And he'll talk kind of mature sometimes, that could be possession as well. That's a factor here. I'm kind of joking for comedic effect, but it does happen. And then there's, like, say, maybe his old aunt will come up and be like, hey, remember me? I'm your sister. And he'll be like, no, you're my aunt. And they'll try to like catch him slipping up, and they'll get the right information like 90 to 95% of the time. It's not perfect, but it's close. It's so profound that it's like close enough. And you're like, okay, well, that's evidence of reincarnation. He's got the birthmark. He remembers things. But if you are consenting to believing this, especially with collective consent from multiple people involved in these families, usually there's like 20, 30, 40 people gathering for these events, you get multiple consents belief involved, which allows demons to implant real-time data into the child to validate whatever they're looking for. You want to find out who this is? Boom, they'll put it in your head, and they're merged with you to some degree, to where they can, you will think it's your own thoughts.
Mhm.
But really, you're just getting instant information access with like a medium who comes and touches your hands. It'll tell you your
Yeah.
future, or they'll tell you, "Oh, your family member just passed away like this." And you'll be like, "How did you know that?" Well, the demons who are observing everything and involved in everything going on, they're going to know this and just make it. And they're going to give instant downloads of information that need to be heard by the medium and use them as a vessel.
You
And that's
skipped the main point, bro. The main point
what's
is like the vessel, like the okay, look, find the person with the birthmark thing,
easy.
and then just possess that individual and
Or
then
possess
give it
them, but it's
or yeah,
merging
or
also happening
merge
on
the
and
memories to
implanting
that
thoughts.
and implant the
It's
thoughts.
both. It's both happening.
And then like basically like what you were and then like once that has happened, like the kid's just gonna have whatever memory is planted into that kid. And then they're just gonna play off of that. Like that's all they're gonna do. The demons are just gonna like play into you having that false memory.
Yeah.
And there was something else I was gonna say.
Well, the
Dang it.
goal well, while you think of that, the goal here ultimately is like most of these deceptions from the demonic realm, it's to create a story. They want more people to see. They want more studies to happen. They want more evidence because it's creating evidence for a false cosmology, false, afterlife situation. And then boom, build mythology in the modern era like they've been doing forever,
Mhm.
constantly planting stories, information, data in a structured way. And my book has plenty of examples of them doing these similar adjacent types of unified projects in the astral. And I have more material I cover in the book about regression and how these practitioners or past life therapists or spirit releasement therapists will go into these sessions where they're putting the patient into a trance state or a theta brainwave state, open and consenting in advance to this ritual practice, and they will channel entities or they'll relive a past life memory, an in between life memory, future life, pre-Adamic if you're Dan Duval. They'll do all these sorts of things and they'll get whatever they want, but they don't. Here's the thing, when you compare all of these memories, a lot of them overlap, but when you have Christians, so to speak, like Dan Duval doing pre-Adamic memory access, they actually don't overlap they can't exist in the same universe as the reincarnation based memories at all. But they're both getting vivid, very immersive feeling, emotional memories, and they can't coexist. The only way they can coexist is if they're controlled implanted memories that you consented to getting in this practice, by the way. And there's places in the lore with spirit releasement therapists, and I cover this more in part 2 material, but I'll recap really quick because it's important that this is admitted flatly by the actual practitioners themselves. They just don't say it's all of it. They say it's a portion, but they admit, like William J. Baldwin, Shakunta Lamoti, etc., they admit that often they'll say that past life memories people relive don't belong to them. They'll say often if you don't get rid of the spirit attachment first, the ghost usually, or a non-biblical demon, etc., but usually a ghost, they say if you don't get rid of the ghost attachments first via this very benevolent exorcism practice that's not in the name of Jesus, then you will do a past life regression and relive the memory of the ghost, and you'll think it's your own. They say this, and they say that so the only way to trust them is to get out the ghost attachments first, and then you can trust your past life memories as your own. But they'll admit that they're coming from ghosts. Now, if the ghosts aren't real and they're actually demons telling you they're ghosts, which is exactly
What they are.
which is what's going on, then they're not giving you an actual
Mhm.
memory of their own. They're actually fabricating an entire memory. And even Shakunta Lamoti in her book Remarkable Healings has a direct quote, which I have in my book, but which says, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially says, if sometimes besides what I just mentioned, they'll also see demons will be not biblical demons, but dark force entities they like to be called, actually are seen implanting memories by typing on a typewriter and they see it in the spirit or talking into a metaphysical walkie-talkie. Literally, these are the words they use, and they're speaking or typing a story out, which you then relive as a very immersive, detailed simulation. Now, it's kind of a limited hangout because they're not using this metaphysical tech to do this. It's all consciousness based. And I think it's damage control because they get caught deceiving and lying and getting incompatibilities, which I'll go over more, but they get caught in these incompatibilities. So then they give this like false flag, limited hangout psyop where they're convincing you, oh, yeah, you caught us giving you a fake memory, but now we're going to show you we're doing it in the spirit where you're seeing it in your mind's eye as the patient. And then they give you another real memory or real memory later. So I know it's
Well,
elaborate.
some of the memories can be real. Like some of the memories can
Well,
be
not if it's reincarnation.
true, but some of the memories can be real memories from things. Like in fact, Dorothy Edie, I believe her name is or whatever,
Yeah.
and she's you know about the situation with Dorothy?
Well, I have a
Like
whole thing on this topic,
okay,
but
yeah.
yes,
So she ended up dying
sad.
and like falling downstairs, died, and then was pronounced dead. And then as the doctor was walking out, this woman, Dorothy Eady, actually came back to life. And when she came back to life, the parents were really mad and upset, apparently, that they pronounced their daughter dead, right? And so, but when she came back to life, it was a little bit different. Okay, and she was a little bit different,
Got a
and
couple demons.
she had some memories that started bestowing into her mind, and to where she actually thought that she was an Egyptian princess, of course.
Oh,
Like,
Seti
of course.
Zabitos.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so what she ended up doing, though, is, like, she actually discovered a ton of things in Egypt. Like, some of the discoveries we have in Egypt today, like, she went out in the middle of the desert and said, "Dig here. There is a chasm, and there's a whole thing here," and she was right, bro. In the dirt in the middle of nowhere, they dug up like palaces and other places that she just knew, like, because she had a dream or a vision or whatever after her experience of this. And so a lot of people might attribute this to, she was believed that she was a reincarnated component of whatever, but it was just basically trauma, that demons bond to trauma. And so for whatever reason, that demonic spirit, when she fell down the stairs, had trauma. The demons smell blood and they smell pain and hurt. And I think the demon just simply was attached to that Seti, whatever, came in and said, "Hey, I got a new home," and went into this girl. And so when she thankfully came back to life or whatever, there was that demonic spirit had made that union into her mind, and it was already planting these thoughts.
So you're saying she had NDE and she came back possessed.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, well, I have actually
Which
a couple examples I usually address, and we'll cover some in a minute maybe, but
mhm,
that absolutely happens. And it's not just, oh, they had a traumatic experience from the NDE and now they're possessed because that opened them up. No, my current theory, based on the research and examples in
mhm,
the NDE lore, is that when you're having an NDE and you have a spiritual encounter, which only 10 to 20% of people with cardiac arrest actually experience the spiritual encounters. So that's not all of them, by the way, which proves it's not like everybody's having this every time.
mhm,
But she got picked up, in my opinion, in the astral, in some psychic like spirit experience where she's now interacting with entities who, in one way or another, I think are convincing these people who, because this has happened multiple times, uh, I think they convince people in an astral deception to convince them to let them hijack their body. Or they tell them, you can go
mhm.
to the light and you can go off if I can take over your body. I don't think they actually die if this happens. They need the original consciousness to animate the body from the lore. But I think that they're actually getting permission in the astral NDE
So you
to,
think it's an actual
I think they have to
demon?
consent.
Do you
I
think
think
it's
they
an
have to consent.
actual demon in control of her when she
Well,
came
what
back to
else would it
life?
be?
No, I'm saying, do you
Oh,
think that is an
well,
actual demon?
sometimes yes, because there's examples I'll cover where that's definitely happening because it's clear. Other times it'll
Mhm,
be this maybe open them up spiritually in ways, and or they were already
mhm,
open, and this just opened the door even more, and then boom, they can be
mhm.
influenced and merged deeper with entities which are using them as an asset, and this experience is what opened the door wider for whatever reason in the maybe out of body experience that they had, quote
I
unquote.
I've not experienced somebody that was actually fully controlled by a demon, and I would say, there's an extent that I've experienced with people where the demon does have full control of the body, but then the person also does, and it's a battle, and I've seen this battle between the 2. I've yet to come across somebody where they're just like, it's totally demon and person is gone woo woo,
Have
but
you read?
unless I don't understand it and I don't know, and there is some people that are on the level of schizophrenia that you would claim, like, it ain't them anymore at a certain point. So that is totally possible. And
It is.
I mean, I'm not saying it's possible. I just haven't experienced it. So, like, I don't know. Like, maybe I have to some extent too. And I
You
just
might
didn't
not know
realize that I was
because they
known, that
try
it
to
was
act
like,
like the person enough to
yeah,
not get caught.
exactly.
So you got to keep
Right.
that in mind. And what Read
Yeah.
Hostage to the Devil by Malachi Martin, one of the most amazingly written dark books I've ever read,
Mhm.
because it gives you 5 deep case studies of people who are fully possessed in their opinion, and the people who all of them, every single one admit, whenever they were exercised, they all go, yeah, I knew I was agreeing to this. Maybe not all the details and understood the ramifications. They all
Mhm.
admit they consented at one final moment after merging for years. It takes years. Not always. If you do like a ritual and want satanically and want to open up, sure, maybe it can be fast. But these people were tricked and playing with the voices in their head for years until they finally gave up full access, which it is a
Interesting.
merging process.
So
That's
somebody talks about this in a book.
there's 5 cases in that book that are deep studies, like
Interesting.
very. It's an amazing book. It's very dark, but it's
Wow.
like a banger
What
written
is this
by
book?
Malachi Martin. You know the guy who wrote Windswept House, who like uncovered the Catholicism.
Nope.
He was like an agent for the Vatican, but he was like exposing their pedophilia and all this dark stuff. He's a real one.
I might have heard of something related to that, but I didn't know
He's
what
a
that
real
book
bad
was.
dude. Bad isn't a good way. I was about to say, you know what
Okay.
I'm saying.
Well,
Anyway,
that's very interesting, because I mean, like, I've contemplated it, seeing people being partially controlled possessed. I've contemplated the idea that maybe the entity could go to the point where the person's in a coma and they're out. I know
That
that
happens.
people have this. I do know
I'll
there
cover a
has
story in
been
a minute.
situations where people I know have gone out for a week, like, and that's the longest I know.
Yeah.
Somebody was out of their body for a week. Demon lived their body for a whole week, and they did not remember a thing, and they did not. And the person, their personality shifted. Everything was a different
Yeah.
situation. So I do know of situations where that has happened. But usually the person is like battling, and I think that's the situation we see with Kanye West, for example. I think Kanye is like in and out of battling with this entity trying to take
In
over.
his
So
prime
I don't
musically.
say I don't I say this so that way people watching, I don't want you guys to be afraid that a demon could potentially take over your body and live your life for
You have
you.
to
That's
consent pretty hardcore to do that.
very difficult, and that's the reason why I'm even trepidatious of talking about it, is because I want you to know that that is not a common thing at all. I've not even really fully seen it. Okay, and I've dealt with a lot of demonic stuff and a lot of demon possessed people, individuals. But like so like it's not something I think is very common at all, but it does require, I think there's a lot of usually what I've experienced, the people that have seen things that are related to this stuff, what they're going in, it does require some kind of death or some kind of like sacrifice of another person or some kind of deep, 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 deep trauma where that trauma creates such a chasm that the person just checks out and they don't want to be in their body anymore. And that's what I see this kind of situation coming
It
into.
does require some degree of direct consent, by the way, from what I've seen in that book,
Mhm.
Hostage to the Devil, very specifically. But I will give a few case studies I like to mention, which are very relevant to the one you brought up, because I don't actually bring that one up, but I know about it. It's very interesting and very relevant. But I have like three. We might get through both of all of them, but I have like three examples
Mhm.
pretty quickly
Mhm.
I can get through about examples of people having NDEs and then coming back as a new person, fully possessed. It seems.
Oh, really? Hmm.
I have three cases just right here, but we have one of, and this is all cases studied by the top man in reincarnation, Ian Stevenson. And he has great long articles and parts of his books about these exact three, and there's more. But three famous ones are this one of this 3.5-year-old Jasbir Jat a couple decades ago, and he had this NDE. I think he had like smallpox or something pox similar to that, and he dies for they say a couple hours. I don't know if that's true or exaggerated, but I've seen crazier things. I think people can die and come back after that long, or at least appear to be dead and be slowly dying. So he apparently died for a while and came back with a drastically different personality and a like higher level of maturity. And he's not pretending to be himself. He says, "I'm a different person." He says, "My name is Sabha Ram," and he says he's a
Wow.
22-year-old who died he didn't know when he died. He just said, "I died recently." And in the records of the actual like village, because a small village, they don't really keep tight records. It's not like in a very big town. They say he died anywhere from 2 to 14 days earlier from this, so they don't really know for sure, but they know he died recently. So apparently, this guy died falling off a cart, hitting his head, brain damage, whatever. And he says that I'm this guy, and I'm taking over the body of this young boy. He
Oh my
admits he's
gosh.
possessing. He says he doesn't use the word, but he's like admitting possession. And
Mhm.
then he's this 3.5-year-old body, and he says he died, was roaming the spirit plane as a ghost, roaming the earth plane, which they like to plant that mythology everywhere. And then he says, "I was guided by a holy man, a spirit in the spirit realm, to possess this young boy,
Wow.
and bypassing the reincarnation wheel, bypassing going to the heaven realms." And first of all, holy man, interesting verbiage, because I don't know what holy man would just not set, why would he be on the earth plane roaming? I don't know. But he guided this to happen instead of letting him go to the heaven realms and reincarnate via life planning and karmic balancing, which is the right way to do it according to this cosmology. So there's only two things that can be possibly happening here, and this applies to the next two cases. Either that ghost of a real guy died, roams the earth plane, possesses this young boy, and says, "I was just doing what this holy man told me." Either that's
Or
happening,
or
or
his
it's
demons.
a demon. And why would a demon go through the effort of doing this? Well, possession
Well,
is well known
when a
about.
person dies, it says in the Bible that man when a man dies, that's it. Like you go.
Hebrews
They
nine
that
twenty
yeah,
seven.
that's it. It says then comes judgment. And so like the demonic spirit they can attach to a man can follow that person around their entire life, know all the details about that person's life, experience that person's life, see their things, see their memories, and then when their host dies because the demon followed him around, he's like got all this memories and all this understanding, and it's like he could essentially assume that and identity. Now that that dude's dead, this demon can jump to another thing and just pretend to be the last host
Now,
he was attached to.
usually a demon possessing someone wants to stay undercover and act like the person and not get caught. Otherwise, they'll get up getting exercised maybe, and then their cover's blown, and then they put on a show for people sometimes. But if that's not they want to stay undercover for the most part, right? That
Mhm.
would be if I was a demon, I would try to stay undercover, not get caught. So,
Sometimes.
but these are demons masking as ghosts for the goal of, well, if ghosts are real and they're roaming their earth and can possess a body, well, I guess most, if not all, possessions might not be actually demonic and biblical. It might be some old Christian buddy duddy like concept. They're trying to replace demonic possession because they know people are going to find out of
Mhm.
possession because there's so much information about it. If you look, they're replacing and trying to
With souls of
subjugate
yeah.
the idea of demonic possession and
Yeah.
replace it with
Yeah.
no, it's just neutral ghosts. Like, we're not evil, but we're not like good guys probably, but we're not doing anything like super messed up. But in actuality, if they are demonic, and this is a biblical narrative happening, they're creating mythology that looks like evidence, but you have to take them at their word. And if you look at channeled information from these same entities, it's really hard to do that when you cross-examine their sources and information. So my point is, they're creating a story here, and it becomes a story, and there's affidavits signed and everything. And I want to get into the next two really quick because I don't know if that guy ever got exercised or not. I forgot the details of that. I didn't write it down. But this next one's interesting because it touches on the idea of that more. And this next one is about Sumitra. I forgot her last name, but Sumitra, this character in I think India, she apparently has an NDE from some sickness,
Mm.
but she's presumed dead for a short time, and then she reawakens with a different personality and claims to
Mm.
be a different person again, named Sumitra Tripathi, I believe.
Same
And
name?
no, wait, no, Shiva Tripathi.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
No, Sumitra was the original personality, and then the new ghost character is the ghost of Shiva Tripathi, who apparently died 2 months
Mm.
earlier, has been roaming the earth plane, died by getting, by the way, pushed in front of a moving train, which what a comedic way to go out. And you might have you might be a bad
Comedic is the
I'm
best
sorry.
word.
I know, well, I mean, honestly, if you're getting pushed in front of a train to your death, whoever killed you, if you're hanging out near a train with someone, you think you're friends.
Uh-huh.
And think about it.
It's weird.
What kind of weird dynamic did y'all have? If you're, I don't know. I'm not hanging out with people around a train I'm not friends with. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So she got killed, but she might be a bad person, is what I'm putting out there. But anyway, this character, and this is a common thing you hear, which is when people realize who they were in a past life or something, they'll often reject their current family because she was part of a lower caste family in this new body. But Shiva, before the train, she
Yeah.
was part of a higher caste, and because there's not a lot of races here, so they choose racism of classism. It's the
Yeah.
replacement because it is human nature. And so they often like
Not
when
human
when
nature.
someone remembers their past life,
It's
also
Jewish
they'll
nature.
remember
Just so you know.
this guy on
But keep
brand,
going.
on brand.
Keep going.
So so he essentially what happens is, like when people relive their past life memory, go, oh, I was this person, then they start rejecting their family because the differences in class often in these countries where they're very classist, and they'll stop eating the same stuff. And this character possessing Shiva is now speaking multiple languages, much more educated than the previous, which I think it was
Mm.
like a teenage, like 17 or 18-year-old who this happened to, and then is fully possessed till she dies about 13 years later, according to the family. And they tried to exorcise her using these spirit, they call them ojas, OHJAS, and these ojas are like these pagan exorcists who are like New
Mm.
Age spirit releasement therapy, and they actually have no power without the name of Christ. So they actually failed completely. And sometimes they'll do strategic stuff and pretend to cast it out. But for this story and narrative and mythology they're trying to create with this ghost possessing a woman story instead of a demon, they wanted to keep the story up so they didn't
Yeah.
leave. So they don't
It's
leave.
that's super interesting. You know, it also reminds
it's
me of the
crazier.
story that okay, there's more to it. Keep
Yeah,
going. Keep
let me
going.
finish real quick because
Keep
it's
going.
crazy. So the last element is, this is the only case I've heard, and there may be more, but the only case I've heard where, yes, they claim to be possessed till they die, and the family was like keeping up tabs with this with the researchers, and there's like affidavit signed and everything with family members. And then there was one moment out of those like last 13 or 15 year life before she died, where a year and a half after the initial possession and NDE, her original personality came back for a
Mm.
few hours, and she claimed to be her original self, and she was like confused and she didn't remember anything. She's like blacked out, which is just the ideal scenario. You don't want to see everything they're doing in your body.
Yeah.
She woke up and
Mhm.
claimed to be herself for a couple
Mhm.
hours only before coming back. And why was this happening? She had a really bad fever, which, as people might know, really bad fevers often accompany trance states. And I don't think
Mm.
that's the only element here. My current theory, based on my shenanigans framework and understanding of these motives here, is that I think the demon was just really not enjoying being really, really, really sick, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm gonna come right back. I know you're not
I'll
gonna be
just be, I'll be
protected.
right back.
I know you're not gonna be like protected anyway, so I can come back whenever I want."
Hmm.
And then she was confused for a couple hours, and then boom, after the sickness like lightens up, the demon's back,
Interesting.
which is
Yeah.
crazy. They're just like kind of
Mhm.
lazy. They can't take a few hits. Come on.
Well, you know, this is a funny. In fact, there's a common deliverance minister person that would like hit people, and his name was
Tell me his name.
what's his name? I don't know. You guys could put in the thing, but he would like kick people and like hit people, and they would get healed. We'll see in a second. And so you know, I will tell you this other thing that's interesting. Britney Spears. Remind me to talk about Britney Spears real quick, and then also
I hope she's okay.
simultaneously, there's a woman that actually, this girl apparently gets killed, and they take the little girl's heart that after she gets murdered, they find her, and she was murdered in a situation, really sad situation. They're able to transplant this girl's heart to another
Oh,
little
I know about
girl.
these.
And I don't know if this is a true story. Okay. I don't know. It is Googleable and you can look it up. I don't know how true this story is, but it's fascinating because apparently the little girl that they gave the heart to the other little girl, because the girl got murdered, the other little girl started having memories and dreams of the man who murdered her and was able to identify the
Yeah,
murderer.
that's real.
And the dude actually ended up admitting to the conviction because he was like so shocked that this other little girl knew it and was just like totally like what the heck, and like ended up confessing, and apparently they caught the dude. And I don't know how valid that story is,
Yeah,
but
I
it's
need to make
fascinating.
that note is true. And that's there's many. So there's also stories adjacent wise of people getting a heart transplant, maybe, and then they'll end up in the like. Let's say they
Mhm,
hated that person who got the
mhm.
heart transplant, hated pickles or something, and the person who got the heart, they got the heart from, loved pickles. And there's like stories like this, and then boom, they get the new heart, and they have this craving, this insane craving constantly for pickles. Some
Super
like
interesting.
dumb stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, I've heard
It's
about
actually a
this.
common thing. I have a section in my book about it.
There's
Buddy,
actually
but
a dude that does the same situation. This gay guy died next to the guy that was straight, and there's like for reals.
happens every day.
And the dude in the room
Is this
next
our
to him that
future?
was gay. No, no, and the dude in the room next to him they were like, I guess in the same little area. The gay guy dies, and then the dude that's totally straight like started going to a psychiatrist and was like, "What the heck is happening? Like, I keep having gay thoughts and all this gay stuff ever since I left the hospital. I was in there I shared a room with this other dude that was gay that died, but like, and he ended up having, this is somebody I know of someone, I don't know this person directly. This is another person that I know. And they ended up praying for the guy, and it was a demonic spirit that attached to the
Yeah.
straight dude that they ended up casting the demon out, and the gay thoughts like totally stopped. But he was like plagued. He was so overwhelmingly plagued with gay thoughts that it like bothered
Got
him.
the gay demon.
Yeah, he got the gay
Yeah,
demon
well,
for real. So it's
so
like
here's
so
the
funny.
thing. You know, you say, "Oh, that woman or
Mhm,
that girl found the real killer by identifying via these memories." Now,
mhm,
okay, an
mhm,
adjacent thing that's important to talk about is like remote viewing, for example. You're doing the same practice as regression, divination of sorts. It's like a lower form of astral travel, which, like I make the case earlier, is all controlled, funneled information that they have complete control over, by the way, which First Kings 22 kind of validates me there. Look into that. So
mhm,
they will give people real data while remote viewing, not always,
mhm,
because they can't do it 100% or it creates problems, but they will give people real data often in remote viewing with the same methods of their hive mind analytical ability, and they'll do it when it benefits narratives. And they'll help remote viewers find missing children. And
oh
it
yeah, I've heard of
sounds
this.
benevolent. It's
I
like,
know
what a
somebody that
great
does
thing.
this too.
And it sounds like a great thing. And I'm not saying
Mhm,
that is like an evil thing, but they're using that as a giving you something nice, making you feel powerful, giving you now you're trusting the data. Now you're trusting the data more and trusting your power. And then boom,
mhm,
now when you can't like you can verify those things by in real life, but if you can't verify esoteric targets like people, remote viewing the future and future events, you can't verify that until it happens, and especially in the distant future. So they'll
mhm.
give people incorrect information if it validates a narrative constantly, but they'll gateway drug you
Still
by giving
feed
you
you
real
real
information.
information, yep.
So that story
Mhm,
is the same thing happening. Guess
mhm,
what? And it created a story that a lot of people hear about, mythology that validates a non-biblical
mhm,
understanding of these things in pro psychic abilities. They're creating stories every which way they can. Mythology. Nathaniel Gillis talks about this. You know, the mask and showing itself, creating itself to what you're most willing to accept, but also creating mythology and evolving the masks with the time periods, adjusting to the collective
mhm.
consciousness where it's at because they understand us because they're watching us and they're collecting our data.
Now it's interesting you mentioned that. I actually know, and I'm sure everybody's heard this story about like the police hiring a psychic that helps discover or solve a crime, right? And so in my town, I don't know if this was like because I heard about this person in my town. And then apparently it was one of the people I know's cousin, and then somebody else I know's mom was this person in our town where she apparently would get like she supposedly, I don't know how to validate this stuff. Supposedly the police would call her when they were really stumped with the case, and she would supposedly
Yeah.
help find a situation.
This is a thing that's happened a lot.
I'm sure everybody's heard this story before, but like I think I don't know how valid
There's
it
a
is.
great
Again,
South Park episode on this.
yeah, it's fascinating because it's like, is this actually real? Apparently, she said that she would also randomly get visions and call the police station and then tell them about the vision, and the police would go and check a location and find a body, find a situation that would be like something they, and a
It's
part
a
of,
great purse for psychic abilities, isn't it?
dude, I don't even know, man. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild when that kind of thing is happening.
Yeah.
And so it's super interesting looking into this. And by the way, side note, when I said that thing about like it's not human nature to be divisive, just so you know, that what I was referring to in that India space where the caste system is, the caste system was actually created by the Jews actually that came into
Oh
India.
my God, no way.
That's why it's called the Brahmin caste. It gets the Abrahmin caste, and all the high ranking
do some etymology stuff. Go.
in the Brahmin caste happen to be Jewish names. So side note, that's a little side note. But anyways, the other thing is
got to keep the
interesting.
brand alive.
I just gotta tell you guys, so that way you know what we're talking about here. That's why I say it's like it might be like a racist thing, maybe might be something else that we don't even know about. But
racist
anyways,
and proud, right, brother?
yeah. So the other interesting thing is what's her name? Britney Spears. So Britney Spears is a very good example of somebody that had a entity living in her body for
obvious.
a very long time.
Very obvious.
That went into her body about the age of 7. It usually happens to a lot of children around about 7 or so. They get traumatized because there's so many stories that I've heard about it.
Okay, that
there's
makes
so many stories about it, and so I'm guesstimating it's probably about 7.
Yeah, guesstimate.
And the reason why is because if you look at her now, she's like a 7-year-old at this point. Like
I've
she
seen
is
the
literally
videos.
paralyzed in that state of 7-year-old.
She's a worse dancer than ever, honestly.
Yeah, and so what happens is like they when the soul is going into the body, that's the time that a lot of times the people that are involved in this kind of like trauma-based mind control and witchcraft, body snatching kind of thing, they'll do the trauma to the child around about that age when their soul is merging with the body in an attempt to get the soul so fractured at that point that they have more control of the thing. And so Britney Spears was an example of a child that had been totally like tied. Who knows what they did? Terrible things. She probably, who knows if she
we're praying
like,
for your real consciousness.
Other children. Yeah. Your real consciousness is there. We pray, Lord, that you get blessed. And if you need prayer, reach out. But so like there's some stuff there that happened and an entity went into her at that point. I think this is my theory.
We're speculators
here. I think that that entity is what lived her life. And actually there's a basis to this because every time they ask her, they go, "What's your favorite flower?" Have you seen the favorite flower thing about Britney Spears?
I don't keep up with her,
No.
honestly.
So there's a clip of like the inconsistencies in Britney Spears's personality where somebody was like, yeah, she was asked, "What's your favorite flower?" or "What's your favorite color?" or something. And every time she was asked this question on camera, she said a different response.
No
she
way.
said a totally different response.
That's so interesting.
And so
why are they asking her that weird?
I know it's a weird question to ask, but like every single time she said something different. She said, "Roses are my favorite.
That's what you ask?
Lilies are my favorite. This is my favorite, bro." I don't know. It's a weird question to ask. It was like a thing to ask back in the day, I guess. I don't know. But like every single time. And that shows that there was different entities potentially using this vessel that had different perspectives and had different favorites and had different whatever, because it didn't have full access to the memory of the constructs that are tethered, because they don't have full access when they possess a vessel. They have access to it, but not entirely, and it doesn't always come through perfect.
I think it depends on the level of consents given, which it is a sliding scale that has a lot of range. And from the research I've seen, that is the most clear way to put it, in my opinion. And it depends on how much you've allowed, which, you can be tortured into these things in a way that doesn't seem fair. And I'm not saying it is, but it gets your mind in such a dark place where the darkness you're feeling and the hatred you have, which is to a degree justified, but in a spiritual loss, like they're gamifying these spiritual laws in a way. In a free will universe, it's hard to like get past them because God has to have laws set up, and it is people are like, why would God set it up like this? And I'm like, it's not easy to create a free will universe with spiritual balance happening. And I think it's perfect as far as it can be. A free will universe, just putting it out there.
And well, the other thing too, as I would say, is like what you're seeing right now too, specifically with Britney, is that whatever entities were possessed in of her body, they're gone now, and they've said, "Oh, we're done with this vessel." And now what you're looking at is her reduced back to the 7-year-old state because she has not lived her life since she was 7. Because whatever's been living in
I didn't
her
even think
life,
about that.
whatever's been living in her life wasn't her.
This
Do you
is
see what I'm
good
saying?
speculation,
This is
honestly.
this is kind of what I've started to see in some of these
I never thought
situations.
about that.
That it wasn't her. Like it was not her. And that's why you'll see a lot of times when the entities leave the vessel, the person will resort to this childlike state. And they're stunted at that point which the entity came in and they never grew up. And so that's what I'm seeing.
It's
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 fascinating.
that or she's still possessed, and now they're just trying to freak us out with this externalization of the hierarchy telling us about MK Ultra. I think that's also part of it. Maybe.
It, though there could be
Maybe.
something
These
there
are the
too,
layers that
potentially.
you have to think about if you want to be a
The
schizo like ourselves. But yeah, man, that's a wild tangent. Interesting. Thank
yeah.
you. I hope the
What
people aren't crying right now. But yeah, there is one more of that.
somebody put Brittany was different voices even.
Yeah.
Interesting. I
I
haven't heard
believe
about
you,
that.
kind sir or madam in the chat. Now,
Mhm.
there is one more. It is a little
Yeah,
bit
go
more
for it.
detailed that I want to touch on of the whole ghost possession mythology creation because it is the best example. I like to save it for last, and it's the story retold in the. It's told in the book, the Watseka Wonder, Watseka, which came out in the 1890s or early 1900s, about an event in the 1890s, I believe, and it's about couple Marys here. Okay, there's Mary Lorancy Venom and Mary Roth. Okay, and the Lorancy Venom family is
Venom?
Venom, Vennum. So
Oh my gosh, that's
stop being
anyways,
etymology guy.
continue.
Um, so you have so I'll call it Lorancy and then Roth, and these are two Marys. Okay, the Mary Lorancy Venom is part of a Methodist family, and then they're
Mhm.
neighbors within a few doors with the Mary Roth's family, which is a occultist, like medium family, like full on spiritualist, right? In practice. Okay. And Mary Roth with the spiritualist family is about 17 or 18 at this time. And Mary Laurency Vanham is not important yet, but she's 2 years old and they're neighbors. Okay. So keep this in mind. You have the spiritualist family with the 18-year-old is going through spiritual warfare at crazy degrees and is hurting, like cutting themselves and hurting themselves and having spiritual encounters and like, we implied that might be possessed at least on and off or dealing with entity interactions. The family did not do her any favors, we'll just say, spiritually
Mm.
speaking. And she eventually kills herself in a dramatic sense. And then that's important where we speed ahead about 12 or 13 years, I believe. And then you have the 2-year-old Mary Laurency Venom, the neighbor, totally normal kid in a Methodist family, is growing up and is now a teenager, right? Around 15, I believe. And she had a normal life growing up with this Methodist family, but all of a sudden starts, for whatever reason, we don't know, starts experiencing um, spiritual encounters, apparently talking to dead loved ones who have passed. The ghost of loved ones would show up, which might be shapeshifters coming in like a dream or vision state. She gets visions of angels in heaven, goes to the real heaven, apparently,
Hmm.
and like out of body experience. Or seeing a vision in a dream. I don't remember which, but something of that nature, controlled visions, and is seeing angels in heaven apparently. And then she's having like cataleptic fits and like these like epileptic like seizures and all this crazy stuff. And her family's trying desperately and probably the wrong ways to help her, and even trying like bloodletting and old fashioned stuff from the like 1800s, right? And those don't work, of
No,
course. And
that brings demons.
not aware. Well, they're Methodists, but they're not well aware, I suppose. It's a simpler time. So keep in mind, they get a little desperate and they go to their spiritualist neighbor friends who have the dead daughter, but this is
Mhm.
years after she died, like a dozen years or so. So they go and take their daughter who's dealing with these fits to the spiritualist medium family and they channel through her. And what now? This didn't
What?
happen. This didn't happen before this. This happened after they decided channel. And I think the demon involved here harassing her is just like perfect opportunity. And she gets in this consenting state now. And I think she was getting tortured by
Well,
these
you got
entities.
you gotta say that she was probably even tortured by her family, actually, probably
To
to
some
some
degree, I'm
degree, and
sure.
because a lot of these people get to a point where it's like they don't even wanna be in their body
Yeah.
before they say, "Okay, I give up."
Yeah.
But keep going. I know where this is going.
There's a
Keep
lot of
going.
assumptions to be made, but families are weird, and we know.
Yeah.
So she ends up getting to the spiritualist medium family and she starts channeling. And something happens, and then all of a sudden, the entity she's channeling is claiming to be Mary Roth, the dead girl, their daughter, the channeler's daughter, or the facilitator's daughter. after 12 or 13 years of not seeing her because she's been dead. So they start talking and like, oh, we missed you and like, I love you. And they're being all, ooey gooey. And it's funny because it's like, well, if you loved your family that much and missed them so much, like you're claiming, I don't know why you killed yourself. It's a little weird, but who knows? So they end up, this is a process where about, I think, a week or two pass. And now this Mary Roth is possessing the girl consistently the whole time, fully.
Not even in a seance setting, just like all the time.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
it like something happened in this consenting channeling state where maybe an astral encounter, maybe a consent was given, and who knows, it might have been around that time.
Mary Roth is now in the body
And taken over, apparently, or a ghost claiming to be Mary Roth, or a demon pretending to be Mary to create a story. So then you have about 3 months of this where there is no change. The girl's staying. She's actually all these health problems and psychic, spiritual warfare she was dealing with vanish right when the possession starts, which is strange. You got what you wanted. You got, and then it stops. And she's actually a model citizen. This either ghost or demon possessing this girl is actually chill. And, this leads to the whole, well, demons are great actors. They're not going to be all feral and monstrous the whole time. They're actually not like, they're very calculated. They have to be to carry out these deceptions. So they're being actually really nice and doing chores and helping around the family and actually what's crazy is after like 2 weeks of this, I believe, they talk with the families and they decide, yeah, you should move back in with your real family because you're not our daughter anymore. And it was, I think it was more.
Wait, why was she living with the channeling
Well,
family?
I guess they were trying to, well, they weren't at first, but then they were like, well, you're not coming back and you're this girl now. So I guess you should move in with your family. And they all agreed to it.
What?
Like the medium family wanted her back, They're like,
so wait, they allowed the medium family
for 3 months
to take this girl.
Yes. Now keep in mind, guys,
Wow.
there is Ian Stevenson praises for being the most provable case ever, because there's 100 plus literally signed affidavits from witnesses, family members, doctors who were testing this was a documented, documented thing. Okay. It's in a book. So after 3 months of living with this family and trying to validate this story and be a great citizen, all of a sudden, which I don't know why you came in the first place for this, but all of a sudden goes, all right, I think my time is done here. It's time for me to go and give this girl back her consciousness and body, whatever. Because she literally claimed to heal the girl from her problems by helping her by this possession.
Wow.
Like in spirit releasement therapy, long con, literally creating, literally taking away the problem you were causing because it was spiritual warfare from demons. Consent, boom, now I'm possessing the body. Oh, I healed you. It's literally spirit releasement therapy. So all these fake exorcisms. So literally, and then create a huge documented story, which becomes a book. It's a very well-known story in a circle. And guess what? Mythology created evidence for reincarnation, evidence against the Bible. They're crafting it. They're crafting
what was
stories.
The end result? Tell me the end result.
She ends up living a normal life back as her normal self with no spiritual warfare. Totally fine. And if they came back and started harassing her more, it'd be like, oh, well, it didn't work. I guess the ghost was a total B word, and lying. And it's like, no, they actually stayed away from her, keeping her as an asset for the long con of the story. Because she develops a normal life, lives to an old ripe age, and dies, I think, in her 90s or something.
Interesting.
Literally, and got married, had kids, had a normal life after that. Literally, they left her alone. They said, we did our time with you, and why would we mess with you? Because that's just going to create more suspicion.
Well, the damage has already been created in her head. So, the heart and the damage in the mind of the individual is, already there. So, it's like, why would we, and then there was
creating a story.
There was probably other demons still influencing this girl to create this story to push
I don't doubt it.
But they're just ones that don't, the demons swap out. They won't just leave always. They'll swap to different ones that now you'll have a spirit of pride, or now you'll have a spirit of something else that comes in that will try to influence you in other ways. And
whatever benefits their ultimate goals. And if they're using you for a story, which they don't do for everybody, but when they have an opportunity, they're going to take it. Okay. And that was a great story to create, which documented heavily. And that's that you got to understand. It's either that this is so documented, you can't say it's not real. So you can either say you believe it was a ghost doing this and that the intentions were pure and it was totally chill and not weird, or it's a demon creating a story with acting skills, which is, by the way, totally legitimate and reasonable when you see all these testimonies out here.
So, and I'll mention, somebody mentioned about Catherine Crick. I'll just give you guys a quick example. We'll just mention this kind of concept here. So in the Bible, it mentions you cast out Jesus. They were talking to Jesus, the Pharisees. They say, you cast out demons by the spirit of Beelzebub. Okay. The spirit of Beelzebub, he's casting out demons by the spirit of Beelzebub. It was almost like something they knew, because what they were doing, just so you know, what they were accusing Jesus of was what Catherine Crick is doing. Just so you guys know, it's like the spirit of Beelzebub casting out the demons is when somebody is normal and they go to this person that's a deliverance minister, and then all of a sudden their body's like, and they're like freaking out. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, out. And then it leaves. And then the person goes back to being normal again. And they're like, oh my gosh, oh, I'm better. I feel so much better. Well, yeah, because you just were having like a virtual seizure because you showed up to this person that freaking interjected some demon into you. And by the way, side note, I witnessed that firsthand. I saw Catherine Crick and witnessed that experience right next to me with one of my people, one of my friends, and saw this whole situation take place. Ended up having to pray for them like at like hours after because their body got taken over. And they were like, when we were driving back, they were like, I don't know what's happening in my body right now. They were like, what the heck is going? And it was like panicking, freaking out in their body. And like, bro, we ended up praying and then like asking the Lord for forgiveness for whatever that was, entertaining Catherine Crick in any way, shape, or form. Left them and they were like better. But by the way, you know them by their fruit. And Catherine Crick, I'm gonna tell you right now, bro, when I went and saw Catherine Crick, she freaking prayed for people and it was nuts. It was nuts. There's people all the park floor just falling on the ground, screaming and crying. This was a long time ago in the very beginning of what the situation was. So, but they're falling on the ground, just busting out, screaming craziness. And then Catherine Crick in the middle of it goes, you must respect the rule of the authority that God has given me, just like we respect Joe Biden. And the minute she said that, I was like, who said we respect Joe Biden? Like my head was my red flags were like, oh no. She's like, we must respect the president Joe Biden, because this is when this was going on.
Is she like trying to get roasted?
I don't know, bro.
It seems
like
those of all,
bro, she told me, she said everybody needs to respect the order. And she kept saying it over and over. And then she was like, and if you've stolen any money from anybody, you need to pay back that money to the church.
I'm stealing
sow a seed. Yeah, she said, sow a seed. She said, you need to pay back the amount of money you took from someone else. Give it to us, sow a seed to the church, and you will be forgiven and you will be set free from your demons, which was the most asininely, just, I can't even believe somebody would say such a thing. Like, bro, if anything, it says in the Bible, if you have anything against your brother, settle it with them. So if you took money from them, go give them the money back, yo. Like, don't give it to some freaking church. Like, bro, that is insane that she would say such a thing. So antithetical to the Bible and very evil and very connivingly, I don't even know. Anyways,
if anybody thinks we won't come after a woman on the internet like this, you're dead wrong. Because look at,
oh my gosh,
I have
ridiculous.
no problem.
Anyways,
I'd shove her if I saw it in real life with
bro,
my thoughts.
So
with my
terrible.
thoughts, not
with your
with
thoughts.
my hands. Yeah,
with your thoughts.
Yeah,
okay,
legally.
But yeah, no. So she did this kind of stuff, and then mind you, the whole situation, she's commanding all these demons to manifest, and did it to my friend, and like went straight up to her and started having her have a reaction. She then goes and proceeds to say, while there's still people screaming on the ground, she says, now nobody else pray for anyone here. You cannot pray for them. Let the Spirit of the Lord do its thing. Bye, guys. And she leaves. She literally walked away while there was a crying girl in front of me. And I'm like, what is happening? What do I freaking do? Like, I don't even know. There was a crying dude right here. You're not allowed to
pray. You can't break the rules.
And she said, no. She said, nobody pray for anyone. Let the Spirit of the Lord continue to move and let them do what it's doing. I got to go. Bye. And like literally took off. I'm like, what? Bro, I have prayed for somebody for 20 hours because my heart said, no, you're not allowed to stop that. Like the fact that she just freaking left, like my heart was like sitting in my stomach, like this is not right. This was before I knew all this, the demonic stuff, and I was even into doing what I do now. And it was sort of right in the verge of the beginning of it. But like, dude, when I saw this thing happen in front of me, my heart was like, this is not right. This is not right. This is not right. I don't know what this is, but this is so not right. And so like, it was crazy. It was wild to experience that the amount of neglect and uncare for these people, and just like would just walk away, just walked away while they're screaming in pain. Like, bro, it was nuts. So yeah, I don't have the biggest, I'm not a fan of Catherine to say the least. But yeah, and have a pretty, I have a few other stories of people that have dealt with Catherine, and it is not a good thing. It is not of the Lord. This is called casting out demons in the name of Beelzebub. That's what they accused Jesus of. But what Jesus was doing was actually healing people. There's a difference, because when they walked away, they were healed. They weren't just showing up and Jesus like, and then freaking out, falling on the ground, throwing up, and then just being like, oh, and then Jesus leaves, and then like, oh, I'm better. Well, yeah, you weren't throwing up, having a seizure anymore. That is bad, okay? And like, yes, I've experienced this stuff. Cast out demons, seen people, demons talk to the people, but guess what? We tell them to shut up because you don't get to talk through the freaking mouth of another person, especially a Christian or somebody that's suffering. I tell the demon, shut your stupid mouth. You don't speak. That's how, and we end it right there. It's not a go on the ground spasm nonsense thing. Anyways, side note.
Oh my God, is Catherine Crick like your Dan Duval? Should we do a 2v2
No,
with
no,
them?
no,
Bro, 2v2, $6,000 I'm offering for this. John Pounders, call me. Oh God, that's silly. So little.
There's Catherine.
I love your passion. It's so contagious. Yeah, so I agree 100% with all that. Just a little bit more sassy on my end, typically, in the way I deliver. So yeah, man, there's more stuff. Just I'm not trying to steal my thunder there.
Keep it
righteously, honestly, but I have this, I have a whole bunch of stuff, and I'll try to be casual and present it in a cool, not boring way, guys. Best I can.
We're keeping on the theme of reincarnation.
Well, duh, so yeah, that's the whole thing. You don't need to tell me what I'm doing. Okay, so
I'm reminding them because I went so off tangent.
They're smart enough.
All right.
Well, they're fans of you. I don't know, maybe. So sorry, guys. There's more weird, interesting lore in between the reincarnation stuff, because it's not just the children and the birthmark stuff, which I already covered, I think, pretty well, how that can, at least admittedly so, with the powers that we know they have, with the foundation of information that they have. So there's more lore found in regression, and we cover the past life stuff quite a bit more in, I already kind of summarized some, but we cover it more in part 2, which is not coming out yet, but we'll get there and catch that later. But for now, we also have information about these regression memories. Like I said, there's past life memories. You can get Dan Duval's pre-Adamic Christianized memories. You can get future life memories, which we'll get into in a minute. And there's in-between life memories. There's all these different ones. And they kind of have some weird lack of overlap in some strange areas. For example, in these in-between life memories, you have books written by Dr. Frick. There's Helen Wambach, and there's what's the other guy? No, it's on the other side. Anyway, we'll think of an author in a second, but these people write books where they have thousands collectively testimonies from people going into regression, divination, and getting mind's eye visions, reliving memories of not only past life memories, but also in between life memories, which are specifically in these heaven-like, non-biblical heaven realms, and they're meeting with these ascended masters, these higher selves, well, these higher spirits that are helping you plan your next life out. And people remember, thousands of people have correlating data, correlating as in within the practitioner gathering the data.
What is this topic like? What are they doing? Like they're training these people or something?
I'm the practitioner. I'm telling you, hey, you're asking them to consent in advance to a ritual, by the way, which is consent, and then you're getting into a theta brainwave state, and you are prompting them like, hey, think of a time. They'll usually relive a past life memory and then go to the in-between life. So they'll go, hey, show me when you died in the last life or something. They'll relive that memory, and then they'll go, okay, now continue into where your spirit goes or something like that, guiding them, prompting them, which creates instantly generation of a vivid experience, kind of like remote viewing where you're visualizing partially and getting impression and downloads the whole way. So keep in mind, you're opening yourself up else also to a lot of it's impression and download information based, and you just have a instant knowing when the time comes, but it's all within the generation. So, and that's how you access all these different types of memories. And the in-between life memories, you're literally showing, you're going, oh, I planned from my last life, now this life, planning my current life. And you'll find out you planned your
death and everything,
your death, your socioeconomic status, your location, which is usually within 100 miles of your actual last death. You'll also plan, your wealth, your relationships, if you ever got major injuries, major traumas, a lot of that's planned, your deaths, your wiener size, I'm sure is included in that, because that's a factor in your life. There's a lot of things that you're literally planning out in advance, which most of it comes to pass. Sometimes they break from the chain and then find their way back, but that leaves very little room for free will in this universe, by the way, if that's the thing happening, because they're planning so much. And it's all in the guise of karmic balance. And a few examples of what karmic balance is, and some of the more extremes, is say in this life, you got raped, something really nasty, right? And then you get a life plan review and find out you planned that rape. Why did you plan that? What is the possible goal of that? Oh my God, the person who raped you raped in a past life.
Do that word next time. Grape.
Grape,
We've
yeah,
never seen
I
grape.
got a bad mouth on me, and also the
Yeah.
YouTube
They
algorithm is not a fan
graped.
of me. So grape is which I was saying the whole time. I don't know why
So
you're correcting
grapes.
me because
Yeah.
I've been saying that.
We grapes and grapevines, the grapevine,
One
grapevine.
of my least favorite fruit. Well, actually, I
Yeah.
like no, I don't. I don't like grapes.
Okay.
And so so you have these people, they were graped in this life and found out in a last life that exact the soul of that individual, not the same person, but the soul of that person that graped them in this life, they graped in the last life. So they had to balance it. They had to because that's
Mm.
fair. There's no like redemption or like no, we're gonna break this cycle. No, it's continue the cycle and balance it for experience sake. And a few other layers of philosophy that's very flawed. Now, there's also people who
Mhm.
or you might have murdered someone in a past life and now they
So
have
you're just giving us lore on as to
just
why
so you
now.
well I'm getting to a
Mhm.
point. I know I rant, but I'm making the point that also this is the philosophy and the cosmological structure of the universe that they are saying is guiding us
Well,
our
in fact, I'll,
entirely.
I'll tell you something else. There's actually something called the body people. They're called body, and they're in the culture over in what's that called? Gosh, the it's like it's somewhere in the I don't know, wherever. The body people, you can look it up.
Sure.
These are the people where they believe Hinduism is like a very prominent practice there. And a lot of things they believe in the reincarnation concept, and they actually are human trafficked people. They're human trafficked victims.
No way.
And they're part of a caste system and in the human trafficked victim space. They're and what they're doing is like basically they believe that they were terrible people in their previous life, and so
Yeah.
therefore they have to suffer in this life, and they use it as a way to say
Justifies
to
suffering too.
justify
Sick.
them that they have to be human trafficked and they have to be abused, and they believe it within their religious perspective that they are suffering because they deserve it, and so they are becoming like sex slaves and all kinds of different stuff
They're
and they're,
convinced, yeah,
they're
and then they
convinced
get
by their
consent by you
yes,
agreeing to
it's
it,
so sad,
and then
dude.
dude, it's so
It's
manipulative,
very
and it's
disturbing.
whatever God would create that universe is it's kind of a silly structure. I'm
Yep,
sorry, but
and they
that's
and
not
there's
our God.
people that preach the gospel to these people and tell them like, "Look, you're forgiven and you're loved," and it's like such a profound message to these people that they are like they realize like, "Oh my gosh, like I'm loved, like I'm valuable. I don't have to suffer, and that
Hell
Jesus
yeah,
gives me forgiveness. What? And I don't have to continue in this life of trafficking and pain and suffering." And they get pulled out of it, and it's because of Jesus that sets them free, which is
amen.
pretty awesome.
No, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's very relevant, and I should
Hmm.
remember to keep that in
Hmm.
mind, honestly. But yeah, it's just these are the crazy things that come through the lore, and there's some of the more extreme versions there, but it is common information when you study the case studies, which there's thousands and thousands of people having these experiences. Another one I like to mention is that there's these soul families, so you reincarnate with like the same few people over and over, often, not every time. I don't know how that really works. It seems kind of very, very tightly controlled, but like often people will have a daughter in this life and they'll find out in a past life that daughter of theirs was their wife, and it's like a sick incestual like layer they're adding, and it's a
Hmm.
very common thing, and they normalize it, and it's very like it's just nasty, and I think it's just trauma. They're trying to traumatize people and make them believe in some really dark stuff because it's evil. It's evil is what it is.
Yeah. Yep.
And not a good structure of
Mhm.
the universe, even if it wasn't intentionally evil. But there's weird things when you compare that with other spiritual experiences dealing with the same types of spirits, where there's quite a bit of disagreement. Now, one example is the book I use, Cosmic Cradle: Spiritual Dimensions of Life Before Death, which is a book compile. It's pretty underground. It's a book compiling like 200 plus case studies of examples of mothers, mostly mothers, some fathers, but mostly mothers before their children are born are getting psychic visions via dreams in meditations or even regression or usually dreams in this case, and they're getting a spiritual baby looking figure in a vision come to them as the age of 3 to 6 years old, they look like, and
Hmm.
they'll speak with children speak, like talk like a child, but like with words, full sentences. And they'll come to you in these dreams or in these meditation visions, etc. And they will say to you, they'll say like really dumb stuff, like "Mommy, pick me," or like "I'm coming soon," or like "Do you love me?" or like, and they're
That's
claiming to, and it's like while the mother's pregnant with them. And
I've heard of this
you've heard of
actually.
this?
I've heard
No
of
one's heard
this.
of it. I thought, okay,
I know I've heard of this
it
actually.
gets really weird.
I actually yeah, people have told me that they have had visions of their child before the child was born.
Faking gay 100%. I'm calling it right now. Now
Really?
here now here
Okay, well
well, of
I'm
course,
not gonna say it because I don't want to offend nobody, but like I don't know it
it's
like what if it was
I'll
their spirit? How do you not know? You think
First, well, for one, just logically speaking,
what if
why
God,
would
what if
God
God
allow
made their spirit beforehand?
and turned them into a 3 to 6-year-old, come to them in an innocent form,
Yeah,
and
that
come
is a
and
little
then come
sus.
and
You're
then
right. You're
come
right. You're right.
no,
That
and
is
then come to
sus.
you and no, but when I get into the excerpt, which I'm gonna read
Okay,
some
tell me,
excerpts in a
tell me,
minute,
tell
because
me.
you have to see what they're saying. And
Okay.
when you see what they're saying, it's like, wait, what is the point of this? First of all, it's like this kind of like it's supposed to be like light and like, oh, we're pre-bonding before I'm born, and it's to let the mother know I love them, and it's like a spiritual
Yeah.
thing. It's like
Well,
nice.
but this is the thing. I've had people tell me that they saw their kid at like age 3, but while they were pregnant, and then when the kid turned 3, it was like the exact image of that child,
Yeah,
which is interesting.
if
I don't know what
now
it means. I don't. There was nothing significant
I'm
about
gonna
the
tell you what it
experience.
means.
There was no significant thing to
No,
that
it's
experience,
it
so I
can be
don't know.
significant, and for reasons that you may not understand yet, but you're gonna see in
Yeah,
a
I don't
minute
know.
when I
Yeah,
read
I
this.
don't understand.
Now, I want to.
Mhm.
So they come to them in this young form always, and they will say things, and I will get into why, and you'll see in a second. But they're harvesting consent. That is what they're doing. They're getting your consent to play out a fib, of a little silly lie. And what's happening here is have many of these cases, and it's funny because when you get into the what I was just talking about was the in between life memories, the life planning, right? You are in these life plan memories are like an adult consciousness. You're like androgynous. You know, you're not like yeah, I'm sure if you were reliving these memories as a child and you died in the last life young, maybe you'd be a child in it. But most of these people died as an adult. And then they're going to the life planning of the next life and they're mentally, cognitively an adult fully. So for this to be a real thing happening, and both of them real, that would mean the adult spirit version of yourself that hasn't reincarnated yet and is planning your life or just picked a mom maybe and is because some of them didn't pick the mom, some of them are fighting. Sometimes it'll be multiple spirit babies, like 5 or
Oh,
6 of them,
really?
fighting over saying, "Mommy, pick me. No, pick me. No, pick me." And they're
Oh my
fighting
gosh,
over you,
that's
which
weird.
which is not mentioned once in the accessing of life planning memories, which there's thousands of these. No one's
Mhm.
ever mentioned, "Oh, I remember visiting my parent as a spirit baby and
Yeah, no, no. Don't say that.
regressing myself to a spirit baby," and not because I guess yeah, it's less creepy to show up as a spirit baby than a spirit adult going, "Mommy, pick me. I'm gonna," that's weirder, but it's still manipulative because you're admitting you would have to be degrading your intelligence and figure shape shifting, which
Yep.
they can easily
No,
do in the
yeah,
natural,
yeah, true.
shape shifting into a spirit baby to come as a cute form and hey and say little silly stuff, then talk like a kid.
Okay, but what if it's a prophetic unctioning of a
Totally
dream?
not, totally not. And
What if
we're
they
gonna show you
just
in a
saw it?
second.
What if, okay, because like what
Totally
about the
gay.
people that have saw an image of the child and it didn't say anything. They just saw the child and then they came to him in a dream and then that was it. And then as the child grew, it ended up becoming the image that they saw. Like
Well,
what if that's like what if it's just God
keep in
showing
mind,
something, sharing something prophetic
I don't
randomly?
see. I'm not saying it's never happened. The examples I'm going through here are all
Okay.
deceptive in my opinion.
I would agree that
It doesn't.
if they're leading you to some kind of understanding,
I can't imagine
I
it
would
would do
say
anything but open you up to the, oh, what belief system has an explanation for this encounter? And then you go, oh,
true. Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
access these people who don't exist yet or are dead loved ones. It's the same, it's too close to home to where, like, why would you
Yeah,
allow that? And not even have it in the Bible once, by the
yeah,
way.
that's
If
true.
it was something that was
Well, no, no,
okay,
no, no. There is an instance
what?
where
Don't make me look like an asshole.
bro, yeah, yeah. There's an instance where it says that John leaped in his mother's womb. So John was fully aware as a
But he wasn't
baby.
talking to her in the dream.
Yeah, but he leaped in his womb when he met Jesus, bro. So
Ye
like, how would he have any understanding of Jesus as a baby? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's not what's
I don't
happening here.
know, bro.
Maybe it's happened before, I don't know, but it doesn't sound like
I
what's
mean,
happening here.
but I get what you're saying, but I do agree that seems silly. But
The
at the
fruits
same
that come
time,
along with this stuff is all new age.
okay,
And
well then that's problems. That's
all
there
no,
we go.
all
That's
of it
definitely problems.
like the fruit of it is all new age, and
Yeah.
I'll get to that.
But John did leap for excitement when he met Jesus in the womb, when they were in the womb.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm a total douche, whatever. It's fine. Now I don't know if I should read this one. It's like too wild.
I don't know.
I'll read one that's wild, and then I'll get to the more silly ones. But a quote from his book that I just find interesting, and really silly, is one guy's testimony in the book describing having the ability, which is apparently the norm, to go out of body in astral travel while developing as a fetus. His soul is mature enough to know to astral travel, and he goes to other planets. So we already know astral travel and all that is probably a simulation. So this is correlating with the same lore. And he says, this is a quote. I came and went as I pleased from the womb of his mom while he's developing his spirit.
That's demons.
No, wait. Well,
That's
yeah,
demons.
yeah.
Definitely
And then he says, I
demons.
came and went as I pleased. I played anywhere I wanted. Lots of playtime took place on Jupiter, the planet of
Oh
growth,
my gosh.
and
Definitely demons.
Saturn, the karmic teacher.
Oh.
That is where most of my lessons came from. That is where I hung
Put
out.
it in the comments if you know what Saturn is.
Yeah, there you go.
The home of the who? I'm sorry, I can't say it.
You need
Keep
to
going,
chill.
keep
You
going.
need to chill. he says, that's where most of my lessons came from. That is where I hung out. I still do. He's saying I astral traveled as a fetus and astral traveled still as an adult to this day. And he's getting lessons on other planets from entities. That's a simulation, and it's gay, and he's stupid. And I'm sorry, I have to be honest here. And that's one of the crazy things you have to take on if you want to believe these things. Now, here's just a couple silly quotes from the same book, Cosmic Cradle, showing these are the things that are coming out of the book. And
these are in Seth's book, so if you want to know,
there's a bunch
quotes,
more. I'm just reading a couple key ones, but they're all either insightful to the what's going on here, or they're retarded, or they're both. Okay, so just keep that in mind. They're going to get silly. So one says, rebirth planning was like watching a thriller movie. So one, even in these astral experiences and these memories, they're seeing a screen play out like a movie, but they can also immerse themselves in it and relive them. They can do both. It's just, that's the control we're talking about, which I cover more in part 1. Another one says, this one's fun. The woman concluded the spirit child seeking a mother paddled a spirit canoe upriver. So the spirit was also, the canoe had a spirit canoe.
Interesting.
The spirit child saw me and entered my womb. That's why I'm pregnant, an elder narrating added. White people have a different way. These things happen to black people. So,
what?
So be careful. Wait. Well, white people get pregnant, the usual, sex and intercourse, whatever. But black people, not always, but can get pregnant by spirit babies in a spirit canoe roaming up a river. And then they jump into your womb. You didn't have to have sex. This woman's a virgin, I promise you.
Oh,
that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying.
That's
a real quote.
About? What are we talking
about?
No,
it's so goofy and silly, but this is the world they're claiming we live in. They're creating this mythology that is so goofy and retarded. You got to go, wait a minute. Is that what
I don't even want to hear any more quotes. But
no, okay. Too bad. Right. You got to read this one. Meditation.
One more. That's the best.
This is the long one. Okay. This is the only long one. All right. Everyone is short. Meditation was part of Elsa's daily routine for spiritual growth. On a meditation retreat with thousands of people, unexpected thoughts came up during meditation. And these are the thoughts. Have another baby, have another baby, have another baby. Elsa thought, no, I have enough children. You're such a good mother. Have another baby. Have one of us. What a good mother you would make. Be a mother. Come on, have a baby. Have one of us. After 5 days of consistent harassment from these spirits, after 5 days, the souls began to fade out and said, all right, we're going away. You can't have us. I thought, oh no, come back. I will have one. That was a great sales technique. That wasn't my commentary. That was what the book said. I swear on my life. It is literally sometimes multiple spirit babies showing up saying, have one of us, have one of us, have one of us. They're begging. First, why would God make you do that? Weird. During meditation, during a favorite say, and then she goes, and then they go, after days of doing this in a row during meditation, she finally goes, I think
I'll have another baby.
After they go, all right, we're gonna leave. You can't have us. They're like playing a game with her. And even if this is a wholesome, real thing happening.
Is this woman married?
I mean, I would hope so.
How's she gonna have another baby?
I mean, she's at least in a committed relationship. I would imagine. I don't know if she's a meditation retreat. She's probably polyamorous. I don't know.
Yeah.
But she's literally. This is the testimonies, and that's one of the sillier ones. But they're saying this to her multiple at a time, fighting over her. That does not sound like God to me. It sounds like a demon harvesting consent, asking for your consent. You gave them consent, and boom, and then they validate it. These kids will grow up, and when they're 2 to 4 years old, just like the reincarnation memories. These kids, once they've been validated with this experience and the mother believes it and they want to know, then the child gets a planted memory of going, remember when I visited you in the spirit?
Will come in.
Nobody else will get it. But if your parent already had this memory, the child will relate and go, remember when I did that? But they won't remember it through the intermission life memories, but they'll remember it when their mother already got it. So it's finishing the story.
Interesting.
They're giving correlating memories that are false to match and create a story. And then boom, it gets in a book and now people believe it. It's crazy and weird and elaborate and silly and goofy, but it's actually what's happening, and it's stupid.
Interesting.
One more, please.
Okay.
Please.
All right, go. They're saying that you're Albrianing me.
Albrianing you? Yeah. You're under-Sething me.
I guess. I don't
know. Yeah. Don't you dare, guys. Go on. So yeah, man. That's just a fun one. And okay, we got to move on to the next adjacent material, which you're gonna love. This, I think. You have.
What is this next subject of this?
Future life memories.
Future life memories
collected in data in a book.
I don't know.
No, it's so. It won't be long.
I feel like
5-6 minutes
because we're talking about reincarnation. What is future? Like this is so okay. At a certain point, I'm like, it's so ridiculous. I'm like,
I'm trying to disprove reincarnation in a way nobody's ever done, and it's by making fun of it in a very accurate way. The reason it matters is because these memories are coming by way of divination via regression, practice, ritual, occult.
You're gonna have future life memories. It's stupid. It's such a
but
dumb
why
concept.
Does it convince the practitioners? Because the data is consistent within the framework of hundreds of people gathering data, so it's very convincing.
That's so not convincing.
But why? But what it shows is there's only two things happening. Either it's true data representing reality, which is verifiably false now, or
Their future life memories are like, we're on a planet Zulu and blah blah blah.
actually that's not far off from what some of them say. But
that's
not
what it's
no,
so stupid.
But they're people having experiences as like feels immersive and real, and so future life memories. There's only one book about this that I've ever seen, and I can't find another. No one ever talks about it except Jason Giorgiani, that mean person I don't like, and he's dumb. And I'm just flipping tables here, but he brought it up one time as if it was like real valid information, and he's like a genius to people, right? But he believes a lot of psychic information like a fool. So he brings up this book, doesn't mention the name. It's called Mass Dreams of the Future by Chet B. Snow and Helen Wambach. And it was a study done in the mid 80s where they get 2,500 people which is a number that keeps coming up, about 2,500 people, and do past life memories with them. And then at the end of it, they ask them, hey, let's try future life memories now. They prompt it. And guess
future life memories.
Yeah. Like specifically prompting.
Oxymoronic.
Yeah. Well, there's no, to these people in the astral, there's no time. All these spirits
I get
have they can access anytime. Remote viewing can access anytime. It has to make sense within the consciousness. Akashic records, we can all access everything. It's building that narrative via these simulations, false visions. So these are live generated visions and impressions of knowing and gnosis going alongside it, download. So in this book, Mass Dreams of the Future, which is not too hard to get a hold of, it basically has 2,500 people surveyed, and they would ask them to look for a future life memory after the past life memory. Look within 2,100, the year in that century range, and also 2,300 specifically. They would prompt it.
I think the only reason why they would do this is literally to try to guide humanity into a perspective that they want.
There's a lot of birds with one stone here they're doing, but that should be sort of one of them. But here's the thing. They would ask them to go to these years and see if they can find a future life memory. And guess what? This is the weird thing. Out of 2,500 people surveyed, they would all get a past life memory, every single one. But future life memory, only a percentage did, and it's weird.
Those are the special tartards.
No. They're all tard enough to get it, but they strategically, the demons doing this, strategically is limiting how many people get it for a reason, which I'm getting to. You have the year 2,100 and the year 2,300 they're prompting, okay? Only out of 2,500 people, collectively 350 here, from the total, we'll get to, 5.5% of that 2,500 had a future life memory in 2,100, and 11% had a future life memory in 2,300. There is all this catastrophic memories coming, like not catastrophic, but there was in the story, the narrative they're giving in these memories, there's a clear narrative, which we'll get into, of, there was a major cataclysm, a major depopulation event that happened between 1985 when they're doing this and 2,100, something major where the population went from like 5% what it is. So they're giving strategically less. They're only giving a percent people memories so they can build this narrative of a big depopulation because there's less bodies to reincarnate, right? And then a slow incline because 200 years later, you have double the population. So it shows a giant drop in population numbers and boom, a rising. So it seems, oh my God, well, if the memories are correlating with a catastrophic depopulation event, major cataclysm, and it is a slow rise in population after depopulation, that's clearly showing a data consistency that only could make sense if it was real data, because these people don't know each other. They're not meeting up with each other and discussing what's happening. It's all from the practitioners.
Yeah, it's just demon hive mind sharing the same information.
But the goal here is, one, they're trying to create this whole Akashic records legitimate. We can access any memory out there
at any time.
The goals are they're creating a story like showing these dome cities, like the Simpsons movie, where they're in a dome city. Some people live there. Some people live in like where there's nuclear fallout around. They're trying to build a story. Oh my God, there's going to be nuclear warfare in the future. Hanging out with them and we're friends.
All right. What else?
Positive alien lore. It's expansive universe. We're living on other planets and we're expanding more and more past the years. And I'm going to read a few bonus goofy quotes from the book because it's funnier. No, it's funnier than the last by far.
I don't know.
No, it's. Dude, it's my show. It's my show. All right.
Keep going.
Jeez, man. So
we're seeing reincarnation.
No, but this is important because this is the same method people get their memories back, and SSP memories and Water King as mermaid memories, which is all crazy. I'm saying this same method is giving you nothing but false memories. And if you get anything real, it's because it's facilitated by the demons it's building a narrative. And if in the book, they only get a small percentage of people getting the memories. And the demons obviously want to implant more lore without having to give people more lives, because then it messes up the population numbers. They have to keep the story straight. They're consistent. But the way to break by that, to give them more data and not give more lives out and change the data, is by saying, they would guide the practitioners. These demons obviously are intuitively guiding this process, and they would get the idea to start prompting people. Wait a minute, if you don't have a future life memory, if you can't find one like most people didn't,
Then you die.
no, they say, wait, try to live somebody else's life and see their memories through their eyes. See through their eyes and look for someone else. And not every time, but most of the time, success. And then boom, they get more data, more lore information. And and you didn't let me get to it, but there's 4 societies. There's the dome types, there's the underground bunkers, there's survivor communities like cowboys kind of in weird areas. And then there's, guess what? Guess what the only happy, positive, longevity living society there is?
The ones
spiritual new age communities where they teach people psychic abilities in pyramid structures, and they all have community and plant things, and they're all vegan, and they hang out with aliens, and they're friends with aliens, and that's
funny.
And they make the new age the everything else miserable, and they make the new agers super happy and great, and everything's great with them.
The narrative, and I will say the reason why they give this false narrative that they're pushing for, which is fascinating to talk about the pyramid, because by the way, pyramid in the book of Revelations, for those that don't know, the description of new heaven and new Jerusalem is it gives us a length, a width, and a height. Okay, the length and width and the height is not. People say it's a cube.
Numbers.
People say it's a cube, but it quite possibly could be a pyramid, which is actually why my theory on pyramids exists, because the pyramids that we see today, all the pyramids on the earth now, are literally towers of Babel. And the Tower of Babel, they were trying to permeate into the heavens. And so they were human sacrificial points. Okay.
Duh.
So all the pyramids are human sacrificial points where they were trying to break into the spiritual realm. And it's fascinating that they're all pyramids all over the world. And so that the new Jerusalem could also quite possibly be a pyramid, which is the actual thing that the pyramids back in the day were trying to mimic to become like that, which is an interesting correlation. So so the fact that you said they live in pyramids and all this stuff is fascinating, because
they teach you psychic abilities inside of them.
Yeah, well, that's exactly.
It's like a school.
I mean,
it's a school. It's initiation.
Well, but really, what it's trying to get people to do is to buy more pyramids or make more pyramids or have more pyramids everywhere, because pyramids are actually a sign of human sacrifice, and it is a demonic thing where the demons will affect you. Essentially, that's what pyramids do. They're like channeling points for people that collect these kind of things. Anyways, so don't have pyramids. But anyways, regardless, the other side note that I would say is the interesting point that you bring up is that they're trying to give this image of a society that's collapsed, which is what they're wanting to do, is push in the narrative that when society collapses, everybody's going to kill each other because we got to reduce down to the thing. So it's pushing a narrative in the psyche of people's back minds saying like, hey, this is a negative thing that we're going to go through and everybody should just kill themselves.
And it gives additional sense, especially more people believe it.
Yeah,
that's why they drop things in movies and stuff to tell you, because acceptance and like apathy to it is like a level of consent.
Yeah, and in fact, they did a study, which I was just talking to Bennis the Menace over there, and we were just talking about this study that they did the government did a study and said that when the power goes out and if the energy grid drops or whatever, that 90% of humanity in the United States will die within the first year. They are speculating. Now, I'm going to tell you guys right now, that's not true. Not possible. Not going to happen. No way. They
like
want
50 maybe.
They want to put that out there though, so that way in your head you think there's a higher probability that I'm going to die. This is demonic prophecy, and this is how it works. So that you believe that narrative, and what ends up happening is it makes you respond irrationally to where it fulfills that prophecy that we will end up everybody killing each other. And this is the same reason why they put out apocalypse movies, which I absolutely hate. Any kind of apocalyptic movie like what is that stupid Mad Max and all that stupid like the world's falling apart and all this kind of nonsense, like all that is on purpose. Or like what is that the zombie movies they put out all the time?
Like 80 of them.
Bro, all of them, Walking Dead, that all of that bullcrap is put out to tell you that when the lights go out, you need to act this way. It is all evil propaganda. It is demonic like influencing. It is demonic prophecy.
Is it demons, bro?
It is demonic prophecy, bro. That's what it is. And the demonic prophecy is to convince you that when the lights go out, rather than everybody joining in unity and working in love and being in peace together, instead we kill everybody. Everybody kills everybody, and everybody wants everybody to fight everybody, so that way we can become the final sacrifice, which is why there's a pyramid on your dollar bill, by the way, is because the United States is going to be the final sacrifice. It's the unfinished pyramid on your dollar bill, which, by the way, with the cap topped off, that is literally showing you that it is the unfinished Tower of Babel, and the finishing point is the little triangle coming down. That's the sacrificial element which is what they're planning on doing in the United States, which is very, very dangerous, and everybody should be aware of this. So you need to start making friends with everybody, and we need to do exactly the opposite, which is love everybody, be friends with everybody, connect with everybody. Yes, and be good to one another. Okay, like that's what we need to do
Do what he
because
said.
it's very friendly.
You better be nice to me.
Better be nice to me, or else. No, like we need to be in unity because what's coming is their plan to destruct things, and it's very obvious. And they're planted memory bullcrap stuff that you're explaining, which I don't even like to talk about the future stuff because this is demonic prophecy to me. That's why I don't even want you to say it. By the way, that's why I'm like, I don't even want to talk about it because the demonic prophecy.
I'm reading these quotes.
I know, but like, I'm just like, don't want that even to be put into thoughts. No, we need to be putting the thought of love into each other and unity. And so when the lights go out, that could be the most epic thing for us, by the way. When they pull the money and they pull the power and everything goes out, it could be so epic with our communities where we all band together, which, by the way, the Mormons store up food like for a year. I think they always have like a year of food.
Really cool.
And they're going to plan on like coming together when the lights go out because they're planning for this crap, by the way. So Christians, y'all better start making friends because they got communities.
The Amish, I think.
Bro, dude, they got communities. And when the lights go out, bro, the Mormons are going to be like, I think they might start just killing people. They might just turn into like this like Mormon death cult that goes around. Anyways, kind of freaky.
We love to speculate on
but like, so we Christians like make better friends with our community and our connection and everybody. So that way, if the lights go out, we're not prophesying that they're going to go out. Maybe they won't even go out. Maybe the Lord changes his mind and that doesn't happen. And you know what? If that happens, we walk in love and we bring about the greatest sort of like unity return to the earth and the dirt. Everybody, buy trees right now. Start planting your tree. Start getting a garden in your yard. You got a yard for a reason. If you don't got a yard, find a place to plant a tree in the wilderness that's got food and everything on it.
Vacuum seal it so the chemtrails can't get in and destroy your soil.
Grow the trees, grow the plants. You get all your neighbors, pass out letters, and tell all your neighbors to buy trees now, by the way. Just side note. So that way you guys can be also self-sustaining. Different trees, variety, that plant that spring at different times too. Also good. Anyways.
What he said.
Yeah, you can continue your demonic talking points of the future.
I'm using transhumanism too. Yeah. It's hitting so many marks.
Yeah, of course.
And there's more that you don't let me get to, but there's like it's those patterns of like normalizing, propagandizing you, getting people in the 80s and the simpler times ready for these dumb psyops for the spiritualist movements. It's creating lore and mythology, which seems like data. It's like good data because it's consistent within hundreds of people. But it's a unified deception.
Well, it's a narrative that you can like basically realize that like the devil wants to spin into our world, which I think is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, obviously
we can change things. We can change things with our authority in Christ, by the way, because God changes his mind a lot. Just so you guys know, the Lord changes his mind. And
but if he said prophecy is going to happen, it's going to happen. I believe that.
Yeah, but God can, but we can. With the time can happen at a different time. If we're walking with the Lord in unity with what God wants and we call upon him, like we can change these things. So like if we call out to God and we get ourselves right, God repeatedly says like, if you turn to the Lord, he will spare you, blah, blah, blah. If you turn to the Lord, he will change this, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, that doesn't exist. That still exists now. Like, so even though there's a comet planning to hit us in 2029, if we turn to the Lord, guess what? It could avert us. It could totally change the course. So like, you know, that's my thought anyways. So I
love your crazy brain.
All right.
Listen, a lot of these people, these Christians don't look, and I'm not saying they should, but they don't look into the new age lore, the fake prophecies, the deception going on, and they don't understand what are they programming their believers for? What is, if you reverse engineer the lies, connect them with our prophecies, for example, which we have a whole different eschatological thing, whatever, don't matter. Yeah. But I'm saying when you compare the false prophecies from these demonic sources and these false narratives and combine them with biblical information or the reverse end of prophetic things or other things, and you combine them, you go, wait a minute, they're preparing you for the other side of certain events. And then it's the information implications you can gather from that is a lot of truth from the deception being planned out. But you can just get that whole summary right there and just understand that's what's happening, but you might not understand the details.
That's all.
But I'm just letting you know there's like a very elaborate thing happening here in a unified way, and people need to understand that. Like, they don't need to understand, but if you don't understand this is capable and this is happening from a unified demonic, hive mind, then you might fall for a lot of in your face evidence seeming deceptions, promoting reincarnation. I'll make it fun. I'll make it fun. I usually don't say this, but getting we have different eschatological beliefs. We're not getting into that right now too much, but I do want to say I believe regardless of who's right, it don't matter. I think it's going to happen either way.
There's
When
destruction
there's a
coming.
big alien deception coming, as we know, and I think it's much more narrative controlled than we even think. Which a lot of people know that, but I think it's even more so via the regression memories.
Oh, so this is why this is the heart of why you think this is interesting.
I wanted to say that, like, I believe personally that there's going to be a great deception, whether it's the one or the other, it doesn't matter, but there's going to be a big deception happening. It's already been pre-programmed in a million ways for the past few decades and then some, and it's going to culminate to something soon with aliens being a big part of it. And they've already pre-programmed these things pretty heavily. When you dive into the new age lore where they're talking to aliens and meeting with them, you see what they say and you see what narratives they're growing, and it's very interesting. But I think there's going to come a time where people are going to get mass downloads at the same time, probably, or within the same amount of time, of past life, like for the normies, especially the normies who aren't in this world at all, or new agers who are primed for it, are going to get mass downloads once some giant consent is given, some veil is torn in some sense metaphysically. And I believe they're going to get mass downloads of past life memories to give them context for the crazy supernatural things happening in their faith.
Yeah.
Because things are going to get so wild so fast, so that everybody doesn't freak out, and they're going to freak out, but so that people can normalize the events, they're going to give people who are open and consenting downloaded memories that will give them context, gnosis, knowing. It's the ultimate. It's the ultimate deception. And if
this is a possibility.
This is what I believe. This is what I believe.
I'm not of the faith.
Total speculation.
I know, but I'm not of the faith that they could physically even do such a thing fully.
I think they can.
In unison, and I think they've been testing it out, and I think that's what the Mandela effect is.
Not with tech, but tech might get you into a brainwave state.
I think the Mandela effect has been their attempt to try to do this kind of mass influence over
we should
society,
talk about that.
which, by the way, I think is not very good right now. There's still a lot of people that don't fall for the Mandela effect aspects of things.
I think
it's an example of what you're describing. Yes,
actually, that's like a much more smaller form of it.
I think that's what.
But I think like, and some of it's just pride and arrogance. People going, "Oh, I know," but really they saw other people talk about it, and then it gets subconsciously implanted to them. And if you believe the Mandela effect, you're more likely to go, "Oh, I know," because then you've given consent for a demon to impress upon you just information of going, "Oh, I know this." It's not deep like a whole memory they're giving you. It's just like an impression, like, "Oh, I know this," and they can implant thoughts easily. And if you believe in that, and you're going to be more likely to experience it, I guarantee you. If you look at any studies of that, but Mandela effect is a total psyop in my opinion, and ultimately the goal of the Mandela effect is to get you to believe the Bible has been altered, whether it be by CERN or some dumb technology or whatever, that we're skipping timelines and small little alterations are happening, and they build the lore with the logo brands and the names of things, but ultimately it leads somewhere, and it's led for a lot of people that the Bible's been altered in these very minor ways.
Just not to trust anything in distortion.
I love the Bible. I think it's divinely protected, and there's some flaws in translation and language not being binary, but ultimately I believe in the structure and coherence.
Well, you can't trust anything. You can't trust your reality.
I trust God. I trust the Bible.
But the Mandela effect makes people unstable trusting the reality.
The implications are crazy, but the explanation's kind of simple.
So it's dangerous. Even if it's to change the Bible or if it's to change your reality, it makes you unstable. So it's not a good.
I'm glad you didn't fall for that slot. Sorry for anybody calling a slot believer, chat. But I love you, and I'm just trying to get through to you. It leads ultimately to this bigger thing, because in this same method, because we're talking about this method of going into a hypnotic state, or people don't like to use that term, maybe just theta brainwave state, ultimately, where you're consenting to gather memories, which applies to these past life memories, pre-Adamic memories, future life, in between, everything, including SRA memories, which I'm not saying are all fake, but there's definitely something going on there to torture you and to mess with you and to create narratives of certain groups. And they're like, why would they tell us elites are doing these evil things through these false memories? Well, they're doing those things, but they're making crazier ones to make.
Well, they ultimately want to push us into hating each other. The goal with all of this is to put factions against each other. They want us to hate these group of people and this group of people to hate this group of people. It doesn't really matter what group of people you're hating, as long as you're hating one group of people.
And it's not like biblical demons, because they
want you to hate people no matter what. It doesn't matter. And again, I know I say things against a certain group of people. It's not people, it's the religion that I'm actually speaking against. Just to be clarified, it has nothing to do with the people of that group.
My roommate's a people.
Yeah, that people. Yeah, exactly. So I'm friends with all the people.
Not really, but
I'm all friends with the people. But but you need to know that that it's not about it's ideas that we're battling against, and it battle against not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual principalities and rulers in high places. That verse, when it's talking about that, it's talking about governments, is also in that translation, by the way. Side note, in the older translations that they've taken away essentially, but it's saying governments and principalities, meaning principles, ideas. We're battling against ideas. We're battling against constructs, we're battling against concepts, we're battling against governments, guys. Things that are the evil is when the humanity is lost and systems are put in place over this. And that's why God was against putting a king in
Oh
position
yeah,
and
that was
putting
men
rulers
asked
against,
for it.
because and God will be your friend individually. He wants to be all of our friends individually. God wants to love all of us individually and be connected with all of us individually. So that's what's important. That's what it's not about, like the system. So all systems are evil, and anything promoting any hate of any kind of group, of any kind of anything, is evil. And that's the satanic agenda. And that's what you're seeing right now. And that's why they're allowing it in certain places to build up one way and build up this way and that way and all this stuff. But truth is ultimately what we need to be seeking, but truth simultaneously confounded with love at the same time. That's really kind of the unity of, I think, what we need to go to. But anyways, I think that's it. Well, thanks everybody for joining us in today's show, and thank you for follow Seth on his
Yeah, well,
crazy
you
talks.
need
Where
to
do you
like
find it?
collab
Where do
it
they
with
find
me.
you?
Well, we're gonna collab it on
Yeah,
here
we'll
on
collab it.
YouTube, but it's my YouTube channel has all my interviews. If you want to see more of the evidence I'm talking about here, because we didn't really get into the excerpts and like proof,
Get his book.
either read my book or find any of my part 3 interviews. My biblical hitman is really good, my part 3, and that's all on my YouTube channel. I have a podcast with or a playlist with all my podcasts, and they're pretty well ordered. And I have part 1, 2, 3 material out with multiple people. Follow me where I'm full schizo on X, which is Sethlehem, or my @ is Seth Kicklighter, my name. Sethlehem _ on Instagram and YouTube, and my link tree is linktree.com/Sethlehem, and that's linked in all my bios. And if you go there, you'll find my book, my free audiobooks linked, which is on my YouTube channel, and it's free. And then you can find everything about me, my contact, if you want to reach me about any crazy questions you have. I like to help.
Awesome.
I love you guys.
All right, love you. Thanks everybody. Have a good rest of your night. You got to push the stop button, bro. You have to do it.
Oh, I have to.
Yes, it's
right.
next to you.
Okay. Well, where's the button?
Just right there by the mouse.
That one?
There it is.